Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Good morning, good afternoon. It is 10 a.m. local time, 1 p.m. Eastern time. I usually like to use Eastern time when talking about these lives because that's DC time, that's New York time, and that appears to be, the time that the nation follows. But I'm here reporting live from the West Coast, and we have a lot to talk about today. Donald Trump is going straight for the capital of the Midwest. He is planning on doing a large scale invasion of the city of Chicago. And that's what it is, by the way. It's an invasion. We need to call it like it is. He is planning on sending troops to the streets of Chicago, troops to Chicago's neighborhoods. And what are they going to do there? Well, they're going to have weapons on them. They are definitely going to be armed, but Constitution speaking, they can't do anything to American citizens, right? You can't harm an American citizen if you're in the National Guard. So what are the weapons for exactly? Well, it's purely intimidation. It's purely to scare people. But I have some friends that are veterans, and they say that people are discharged from the military all the time because of accidents, because of negligence, because of mistakes that take place. And so, what happens with somebody who is not used to having a weapon on them because National Guard don't often carry 9mm pistols on them? What happens to somebody that accidentally does something wrong and things get out of hand and American citizens lose their lives? That's the risk Donald Trump is willing to take here. And by the way, today we saw National Guard troops in DC picking up trash. That should tell you everything you need to know about Donald Trump's respect for our military. He's got the National Guard picking up trash around DC because there's nothing for them to do, because there really is no reason for them to be there. And so to put them to work, they're picking up trash. Don't believe me? There's video of them doing it all over the internet right now, and we'll even show some on the stream today. So again, if you're on TikTok, come over to YouTube. You'll be able to actually watch the footage I'll pull up today so you can see everything that we're reacting to. And first and foremost, I want to show Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, or should we do Trump's cabinet meeting first? Yeah, let's do Trump's cabinet meeting just because I think that'll be a little bit more timely. So let me pull that up real quick. Again, if you're on TikTok, join me on YouTube. Link is in my bio on my TikTok account. And you could also just go on YouTube and type in Josh the Progressive. You'll find me pretty easily. I'm a fast-growing YouTube channel. Okay. All right, we've got Donald Trump's cabinet meeting pulled up. Let's dive right in. Let's make sure there's sound too. There we go.
Thank you very much. Are you all set? You all ready? Nice group. Big group.
By the way, I made a TikTok about this morning, and I want to drive this point home today. This is my new understanding. This administration, right now we're looking at Trump, Marco Rubio, Pete Hegseth. We're also talking about J.D. Vance, Pam Bondi, etc., and I'm sure they're in the room. They are going to do everything in their power to hold on to power. You don't think they're having internal conversations when the cameras aren't rolling about, hey, how do we make sure that we're never kicked out of this White House again? How do we make sure that we can just keep passing the baton from one administration to another, but maintain our status quo? You don't think those conversations are secretly being had behind closed doors? That would be naive to think otherwise, because they know they're not popular, and they know that there is a risk that they'll get voted out, that their rivals will take back control. And so they are going to do everything in their power to try and maintain power. And what does that mean exactly? Well, it could mean changing the rules of the game, because they're the ones that hold all the power. So why not make the rules more favorable so that they can stay there? It could mean using the military and the National Guard and ICE as secret police to try and scare people from voting, to try and scare people at voting sites. Donald Trump has already said that. Oh, and somebody says, have you ever noticed that Democrats never post anything pro-Democrat? It's always just anti-Trump. Well, for starters, brother, I'm not a Democrat. Second of all, I do caucus with the Democrats because I align closer with them than the Republicans, surely. But let me tell you one thing. There are a lot of things to be proud of on the progressive side of politics, like trying to make sure everybody has health care. And even though I think Trump supporters are traitors to this country, I still believe you deserve to have health care, because health care is a human right. I still believe you deserve to have a right to a free and fair education. I still believe you deserve to be able to afford a home in this country. How come Trump hasn't delivered any of those promises to you yet? Let's take a look at his cabinet meeting.
But I want to thank you all for being here as we prepare to celebrate Labor Day, when we honor the incredible, hardworking men and women of our country, which is doing very well, I have to tell you. Every policy of the Trump administration is designed to lift up the American worker, promote great-paying blue-collar jobs, and to rebuild the industrial bedrock of our nation. It's also obviously for great defense. We have the greatest military in the world. We rebuilt it largely in my first term. Some of it was stupidly given away to Afghanistan. For what reason? Nobody can figure that one. But it was still a relatively small amount of what, if you compare. The concept of what they did, however, is just incredible. But
okay, so by the way, the No New Wars president, he's going to be talking today about how he wants to change the Department of Defense to the Department of War. And I'm sure a Trump supporter watching this immediately is thinking more fake news from the liberal media or whatever. First of all, not a liberal. Second of all, this is literally what he said with his own mouth yesterday. So you claim to believe everything Trump says, well, take his word for it. He's going to talk about it.
The country is doing well. We're respected all over the world like never before, probably. We went to NATO, as you know, and they went from 2% to 5% of GDP. Nobody expected that. And the difference is they didn't pay the 2 and they paid the 5. So, and as you know, we are selling a tremendous amount of equipment to NATO. We're not spending any money, we're making money, but I don't want to talk about making. I want to talk about we're no longer involved with funding Ukraine, but we are involved with trying to stop the war or the killing in Ukraine. So we're selling missiles and military equipment, millions and millions, and ultimately billions of dollars to the NATO people, where I'm very friendly.
He looks slower and slower every day. Like today, he looks even more dead than yesterday. His energy is completely depleted. And it's really concerning. Notice how his hands are hidden well under the desk, by the way. Nobody should be looking at his hands right now. They're very sickly.
And we have a great relationship, but that was an amazing trip. So they're funding the entire war. We're not funding anything. I think it's an important point to make, because a lot of people don't know.
That's a good point, and somebody said in my TikTok comments. By the way, if you're on TikTok, join me on YouTube, Josh the Progressive. You can actually watch the stream, and you can watch Donald Trump speaking on camera. But somebody said that Stephen Miller and Howard Lutnick are really running the country. Well, I don't think Howard Lutnick is, but Stephen Miller might be the real architect of everything that's going on. And by the way, Donald Trump is just a puppet at this point. I mean, think about it. There's a real agenda being implemented here by people around him. And they know that he's not going to last forever. They know he might not even last the remainder of his term, between his health and the Epstein files. And J.D. Vance might be their next poster boy. And a lot of people say, well, is J.D. Vance going to be as bad as Trump? He's going to be worse. J.D. Vance is going to be worse. I think I'm going to write a note real quick. I think I'm going to make a video about that later. J.D. Vance is definitely going to be worse than Trump. That's going to be a TikTok I'll do today. Make sure I don't forget that. Folks, we'll resume the stream in just a second, but I want to let you know, my name is Josh Greene. I am the host of the Progressive Pulse. We go live every week. The purpose of these episodes is to counter mainstream media so I can offer the truth about what's really happening in the U.S. and around the world. Because if you go on CNN right now, you go on MSDNC, Fox, fake news, etc., they're just going to give you the corporate media takes, and they're not going to actually tell you the reality behind what's going on. And so my goal is to just show you in full everything that's happening politically, whether it's Trump's speech, whether it's what the Democrats are doing, etc. We can watch it together. We can discuss it. This is a community. It's a two-way street. Use the chat. I want your input. I want your feedback. And then we can have conversations about things as well. You don't get to do that through the mainstream lens. But I'm an independent political commentator, so all your support helps. You can like the video and subscribe. It's free for you, but it actually helps boost my channel and make sure that my word gets out there. So let's dive back in. Let me pull up the president real quick. And let's listen. I think I'm going to start recording too. Make sure that we have this recorded.
Understand that. And we will continue to do that, and we're trying to get as much as we can for them. They want the American product. The American military product is by far the best in the world, and that's what they want to get. They have lots of options, but that's what they want to get. So the factories are doubling up and tripling up where they make the Patriots and other really, you could say, defense and offensive weapons. The wages for...
He keeps saying that now. He keeps saying, we don't just do defense, we do offense too. We're not just a defense department, we're an offensive department too. He's conditioning you for the idea that offense is coming. We see it in the streets of America. You know, there's offensive campaigns going on where Donald Trump is taking troops to the American people. And we're seeing that now as he's planning on changing the department. Listen.
Our blue-collar workers are now rising at the fastest rate in 60 years, which is so important to all of us around this table. The average American worker has already seen a $500 wage increase this year, and there's no inflation because there's been decreases, tremendous decreases, with thanks to Doug and Chris, and some of the people, the great job they've done with energy. Thank you very much. And Chris, thank you very much. I see you down close to $60 a barrel, and you'll be breaking that pretty soon. And that has a huge impact. So we have groceries are down. Energy is way down. Energy is way down. It was $4 and $5 for a gallon of gas. Think of that for gasoline.
It still is, by the way.
And now it's probably $2.25. There are some places it's $2. It broke $2 at a couple of locations in the South. In places like California where they charge such high taxes, it's higher, but it's still much lower than what it was a year ago. So energy's way down. Groceries are way down. Eggs are way down. Thank you very much, Madam Secretary. You've done a great job.
Remember that was the whole thing he ran on, like, we're going to lower grocery prices because communist Kamala is going to make everything more expensive. And now he's like mocking us, basically. He's mocking the American people. He's like, eggs are down. See, I told you I'd get the eggs down. Like, dude, that's the only reason people voted for you, is because they thought too much expensive stuff was happening, and so they thought you would bring the egg prices down. Well, the prices aren't down, by the way. They hit record highs so far during this administration. But the fact that now you think it's like a joke, you're like, oh, we got the egg prices down. You people like think the egg prices are so serious. It's the same thing with the Epstein files. He's like, it's a hoax. Why are people still talking about the Epstein files? It's like, you were the one talking about it. You were the one who brought it up during the campaign. I don't know how people can't see through this, but I'm going to do my best to expose it.
Appreciate it. When we came in, the eggs were through the roof. They were 4 times higher than they've ever been. And my first question from you people were, what are you going to do with eggs? I said, what's the problem with eggs? That was caused by Biden, or whoever was operating the auto pen actually caused it, I guess, because I don't think he knew too much about eggs. Factories are booming compared to before I took office. Domestic auto production.
Not every cabinet meeting has to have a summary of all of your achievements, by the way. Like, we hear all this stuff every single day, and no matter how many times you repeat it, it doesn't make it true. But let's continue.
It's going to be so thrilling in 2 years when you see the numbers, because they're building plants all over the country. They're all coming in because of tariffs. They don't want to pay the tariffs. And if they build their plant here, they don't pay the tariffs. And
you literally, once again, just admitted, by the way, that American companies are the ones that have to pay the tariffs. You keep saying other countries are going to pay them, but then you accidentally reveal yourself. And by the way, you're not even hiding it anymore. You're like, American companies have to pay the tariffs, but you could just do everything here and it's all going to work out magically. But you definitely also don't need to be importing stuff from other countries, right? It's still not going to be more expensive, right? Everything's going to be more expensive, folks. Everything. Notice how many commercials now are talking about tariff pricing and how get it now before the tariff prices kick in. Things are going up.
They're pouring into our country, and you know about AI and you know about but the auto plants, that's the good old-fashioned stuff that I love. The auto plants are pouring into the United States of America. They're coming from Mexico, they're coming from Canada, and they're coming from Europe, all over Europe. And it's been pretty amazing. So factories are booming. And when they actually open, right now they're booming in terms of construction. This is something given to me by Mark Zuckerberg. And you'll see this is AI now. These are, I never understood. I said, well, you know, because I built shopping centers, and for $50 million, you can build a very nice shopping center. So I never understood when they said 50 billion for a plant. I said, what the hell kind of a plant is that? But when you look at this, you understand why it's 50 billion. So this is one he's building in Louisiana. That's Meta, Facebook, as people understand it to be. But look at that, that's the size of Manhattan. So that's superimposed over the island of Manhattan. It takes up a big part of Manhattan. I think they say 81% of Manhattan. So,
Dude, what are we talking about here? He's like, he's shocked that like there could be a giant factory. That is absurd, though. Honestly, that is absurd. That it would be the size of Manhattan. What? And it's gonna just take up that much. I mean, I guess maybe Louisiana has the space for that, but that is absurd.
these are big things, and they're going up. A lot of them are going up now. I don't know that big. Actually, Mark is building 4 of them, and others are building similar places. And when these things open up, I'll tell you what, our country, we're leading China now in AI, substantially leading China. And the reason is because we're letting them build their own electrical facilities. We would need double the energy that if you take all of the electricity that we produce right now in this country, you'd have to multiply it times 2 or maybe 3 times. So 3 times more than we have right now for everything, to operate your toaster and everything else, okay? 3 times more. And the way we are able to succeed, because China goes out and builds these massive plants. They're right now building 58 coal, in this case, almost all coal-fired plants. And coal is back with this country too, by the way. You know, there's a reason they use it, because it's good. It works for them. And we call it clean coal. We don't call it coal. We call it clean, even very...
There's nothing clean about coal, by the way. And the fact that we are in 2025, we are a quarter through this century, and we're still talking about using fossil fuels is absolute insanity. These are finite resources, folks. I understand some people just love oil, they love coal, but the reality is the earth only has so much of it. And it's not like the way we say the earth only has so much water or food. There is literally going to be a point where we simply just run out of fossil fuels. That is a problem. Not to mention, every single time we burn them, it's making the earth hotter, and it's making weather patterns much worse. It's making building a better future worse.
Very clean coal. But we have coal going up, we have nuclear going up. Nuclear is very much in vogue now. It's safe and inexpensive and great. We don't allow windmills. We're not allowing any windmills to go up. I mean, unless there's a legal situation where somebody committed to it a long time ago, we don't allow windmills, and we don't want...
What's the problem with windmills? He's mad at windmills because he thinks it like kills whales or something.
The solar panels that I was speaking with the secretary about, because they take up, you know, thousands of acres of our farmland. You see these big ugly patches of black plastic that comes from China, and the solar is, you know, I like solar in some ways, but for firing up your big plants, it doesn't work. It's very unstable, but it really takes up your farm. The farmers are saying, you know, they're building these massive blotches.
I remember learning in high school that like you could build a giant solar farm in the southwestern United States, like in Arizona, New Mexico, where there's huge swaths of land that nothing is being used for. You could build a massive solar plant and use that to pretty much power the entire southwest of America, like all of Southern California, all of the West Coast, Arizona, Nevada, etc. All you had to do was just build like a giant solar farm there, and it would power so much. And the president, who acts like he's a genius, has an elementary understanding of science. He has an elementary understanding of what is actually going to be best for the country moving forward. He's living in 1965. We need to be living in 2025. That's why I call for the Green New Deal. I say, To hell with these jobs that are going to be outdated anyway. We could revitalize the economy. Anybody who's worried about losing their job at the coal plant, why do you want to work in the coal plant anyway, where you're going to get cancer, you're suffering every day? Instead, you could be working a clean job, a job where you're going to be healthy, a better paying job, a job where you're actually going to make products that are better for the environment. And, it is a little unfair to tell people, hey, the job you're doing, you're not going to do it anymore. You're going to do this new job. But Donald Trump, he belittles people. He acts like people love working in coal. I'm sure there are a few people that love working in coal. But Donald Trump is like, the coal people, they love their coal. They'll never want to leave their coal. It's like, dude, they are probably working for $15 an hour, maybe less, while you spit on them, while you disrespect them, while you basically just use them as slave labor for your empire. And there's an opportunity to give them better paying jobs while making the United States of America cleaner. Wouldn't it be America first to actually improve our environment? Wouldn't it be America first to stop polluting our atmosphere, to stop enabling these giant hurricanes that are destroying our cities, costing billions of dollars to repair? Instead, we could mitigate these disasters by actually shifting towards renewable energy.
Is in the middle of the fields all over the country. It's so crazy. It's so crazy. So we're not heavy into that at all. And windmills, we're just not going to allow them. They're ruining our country. They're ruining everyone. If you look at, I hate to mention countries, but you look at the UK, what's happened at UK, they have energy costs have gone through the roof. It's because of wind. They want to do everything, close up the northern parts of the country. They have oil, it's tremendous. And they closed it up and they've been building windmills all over the place. And I tell them, you're my friends, but man, you're going to have a bad awakening very soon.
And he doesn't even know about geothermal too. Like, that's how rudimentary his understanding is of renewables. Like, there are so many ways that we can make energy that don't require burning coal, that don't require mining the earth for oil and then burning it so that everybody can breathe it, launching it into the atmosphere. I say this all the time, but the main thing people need to understand is the earth is a greenhouse. And when you go into a greenhouse, it's hot, right? Because energy is being released, but it's trapped. So it's this cyclical thing. And so when we're burning oil, we're making the atmosphere hotter, but as a result, we're making the ocean hotter. It's a negative feedback loop. And so when we're making the ocean warmer, we're melting ice that's happening in the poles, and we're melting ice that's making the ocean even more warmer. And here's the main thing, by the way. This is just a quick little piece of education, so you can take this to your MAGA friends. The ocean is a carbon sink. What does that mean? The ocean absorbs carbon. So it actually takes in carbon the same way that trees do. But the problem is, the more carbon that we're releasing into the atmosphere, the warmer and warmer the ocean is getting. And that's going to result in so much more bacteria, so much more algae to grow in the ocean. Eventually, it's going to become uninhabitable for a lot of species. And eventually, that's going to make the earth less inhabitable for us. Let's continue listening to Donald Trump, though, talk about how we need to burn more coal.
It's going to be very bad. They're ugly. They don't work. They kill your birds. They're bad for the environment. And if you look at them from a house, your house is worth less than 50%. So I'm trying to have people learn about wind real fast, and I think I've done a good job, but not good enough, because some countries are still trying. And
nobody should take
themselves.
advice about wind from him or anything,
themselves.
really.
I hope they get back to fossil fuel, because right now, Chris, whether we like it or not, fossil fuel is the thing that works. And then you can add.
You can tell even his tone has shifted through the years. Like, he would go, climate change is a hoax. He never says that anymore. Now he's like, well, fossil fuel is the thing that works, whether you liked it or not. It's like, clearly he knows people are over it. He knows that the industry is shifting, and he is going to be a fossil himself. If you are a president supporting fossil fuels, you are a fossil. You are going to be left in the dust. We should have a president in America, a president who is an innovator, a president who sees the best scientists, the best minds of renewable energy, and is saying, why don't we tap into this gold mine where we can make so much money, make people's lives so much happier and healthier, instead of doing this archaic bullshit. You are going to be left in the dust, Mr. President, because you are a fossil. You belong in the ground.
Nuclear with it and other things, but fossil fuel is what works if we're going to fire up those big monster factories. But if you look at comparing everything before I took office, domestic auto production is up 18,000 cars a month. And we haven't even started yet because a lot of these plants aren't built. It's up 18,000 because Ford, General Motors, and a couple of others, Stellantis, they're taking their existing plants and they're, as quickly as they can, they're adding on to them. So when their plants open, because they're building big, modern, beautiful auto plants, but think of that, we're up 18,000 cars a month, and essentially all they've done is try and utilize their space correctly as their big plants open up. It's going to be, I hope they remember that it was this way. I hope this table gets a lot of the credit for what's happening. It gets all of the credit, because this would have never happened. We were going out of business in every way. We were losing. All the car plants were leaving this country. Now they're all coming back in, and they are coming from Canada, and they are coming from Mexico, but they're coming from Germany. They're coming from all over the world.
Right now, it is so much more expensive to buy a car because so many cars we buy are from other countries, and because of tariffs, it's more expensive. But great work, Mr. President. You've done an amazing job, sir.
Domestic steel production is up by 100,000 tons of steel a week. We have a 50% tariff on steel, aluminum, and various other things. Copper just got brought into the picture, and that means people are going to want to make steel here. We just made a deal with U.S. Steel. As you know, we have an outside company come in, spend $17 billion on building new plants, new everything. It's great, and it stays right here in America. So we're doing amazingly well on steel, and domestic oil production is up by more than 300,000 barrels a day. That's a lot of barrels, and you're going to be talking about that in a second, I think, Chris and Doug.
You can see how sleepy he is today. Like, he is really losing his marbles.
These two people have done a fantastic job, and we have the oil price down to about $62 a barrel.
Oh,
so
he almost
just
showed
so
his
you understand,
hands.
because a lot of
He
you
almost
like
showed
to
his
talk
little
about
hands.
costs
His sick
and prices,
hands.
but I watch so much fake information. Product costs are down. Energy is way down. Energy brings things down. You know, with energy, that's what happened with Biden. He stopped our program, and then he went back to it when he realized that
Stop swiping this
it
way.
looked like you're going to be paying numbers that nobody's ever seen, like $7
Hey, if you're watching on
a gallon.
TikTok,
You're gonna pay
this is your moment to come
$7
watch
a gallon, then
on
up to
YouTube.
$7.5. So then he
YouTube is
immediately
where
went
you can
back to
actually
the Trump
watch
plan
what we're
that they
looking at.
terminated.
Appreciate it.
But it was too late for them. It was too late. They blew it. They had a great thing going. I gave them something great, and they blew it. Since the inauguration, we've created over 500,000 new private jobs, and if you notice, when the numbers come out, government jobs are going down and private jobs are coming up, and that's what really fuels the country. It's easy to hire people and pay them for doing something that maybe is not very productive, but government jobs are down, actually substantially down, and private jobs are way up, and these are the jobs that make money, create a better life. Meanwhile, we've reduced the number of federal bureaucrats by 84,000. So we got rid of 84,000, and I think the job numbers, you're going to see the new job numbers are going to be through the roof because of all of the different businesses that are moving into our country.
Because we're altering the data from now on. Remember, just a few weeks ago, he fired the person in charge of releasing the job numbers. Not even the person who makes jobs, creates jobs, the person who simply reports the information. The person who simply takes the information that's there, the information that is a fact, and releases it. And they fired her because they said they want good data from now on. Really? Seriously? Are they even hiding it anymore? They only release things that they approve, only release things that make them look good. That's why everything this administration says has to be scrutinized to the highest degree.
And not just production businesses, autos and AI, but any business you can think of. In the world of furniture, as an example, North Carolina, I went there many times when I built a lot of hotels and things, and I'd go to North Carolina, I'd buy the greatest, they were the greatest, most talented people. And then China came along and took all of those jobs away. If they would have tariffed them, China wouldn't have taken any of the jobs. But we had presidents that, honestly, and I like some of them, but they didn't know what the hell they were doing from a business standpoint, from running the country. And North Carolina, the most talented woodworkers that you've ever seen. I'd be there and I'd watch them. I'd say, I'd like to have a rail in that chair. Maybe can you fancy it up a little bit? How about this, sir? And they'd hand me a thing. It was like they were artists. They were unbelievable. And that business was stolen from us by others, not only China, but by others. All of a sudden, you're ordering your furniture from
He's so close
China.
to showing his
It
sick
was
little
not
hands.
even close to being
I can't
as
wait to
good.
see them.
But they couldn't compete with it. If we would have
Every time
said,
I see them, it makes me think
cost
he ends near.
100% or 200% tariff, you wouldn't have lost one job. It's so sad. But we're going to rebuild North Carolina furniture and other places, South Carolina too, to a lesser extent. They make furniture. But furniture, we're going to put a very substantial tariff on. We've already announced it. It'll be done pretty quickly. And when that happens, everyone's going to start. I just tell you, North Carolina, go out and start getting the grandchildren and the children, start teaching them, because some of those incredible artists that I knew as young people, they're older people now, but they still have the talent and they have time left. But they're going to be teaching their sons and their daughters and their grandchildren. And it's going to be a beautiful thing to see. It's going to happen like magic. It's going to happen without question. It's not like, gee, I hope it happens. It's going to happen.
What are we talking
The
about?
results of Ford that just
wanna
announced
hear his
it's
other
going to
cabinet
create
members speak.
4,000 new jobs, American jobs. Hyundai, 14,000 jobs. General Motors is moving production of the Chevy Blazer and
To the 140 of you watching on TikTok, now is your moment. Come watch on YouTube so you can actually see what's going on. You just go to the link in my bio on my TikTok profile and you can pull it up on your phone. But I prefer to watch on my computer or TV. You can literally just search Josh the Progressive and my YouTube will come up and you'll see the live video. This live is titled Trump is Preparing to Invade Chicago, which we'll get into because Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker responded and he's telling Trump, do not come to Chicago. So please, now is your moment. Come to YouTube. And if you come to YouTube from TikTok, let me know that you came from TikTok. Start chatting with the other chatters in the YouTube chat because I'm trying to build a community. I look forward to seeing you on YouTube. But I'll keep the TikTok going for now. I'm just saying if you want to see Trump and actually watch him, because we're going to show some other live feeds as well.
equinox from Mexico back to the United States where it belongs. Don't forget, we lost 55% of our auto production over the last 35 years. 55%. We were the auto capital of the world. Like there was nobody even think about challenging us. We lost 55% of it to Mexico, Canada, China, a lot to China, and other countries. And it's all coming back. We will be bigger. A couple of years, we'll be bigger than we ever were. We'll be more dominant. We'll be bigger. We make great product, too. We're starting to make really great product. We're going to be bigger than we ever were. We're going to be at the level that it was when we were the only one that really... We sold to the world.
When is it coming?
And we're going to be back selling to ourselves and other parts of the world. It's not going to be the same, but it's going to be equally as important as it was in the heyday 30 years ago.
Is there a topic
we
involved?
lost more than 50% of the automaking capacity. In fact,
I thought
the
there was a
unions, the
meeting
auto
happening
unions,
here.
as you know, the top guy didn't know me, didn't
I'm sure even his
like
cabinet
me,
members get exhausted
and now
by
he
this.
likes
Like,
me.
it's just
This-
nauseating.
man, I can't
Every
believe
single day, just
what
him
Trump has done.
yapping and yapping and
But
yapping.
the auto workers voted for me. They
Like some people will say, well, listen, the way Trump speaks, Biden could never speak like that. It's like there's a difference. First of all, Biden had a stutter that he's had since he was a teenager. Second of all, when Biden spoke, he just got to the point. He just talked about whatever he was talking about. Versus Donald Trump, yeah, he says a lot more words, but he's doing a lot of talking and he's not really saying anything. That's not really the sign of a cohesive genius, is it?
understood better than anybody else. The auto workers, the Teamsters voted for me. Teamsters are great. They all voted for me. No Republican has ever gotten the support.
Are we
of the
still talking about the
Teamsters
election?
and the auto workers. And now the head of the
election
auto
was
workers, I've been
8
so
months
amazing.
ago.
I
Why
watch
are we
them on
still talking about
television.
it?
They can't even believe what happened. And I told them all what was going to happen. We secured new market access for American agricultural exports all over the world.
Someone says Democrats are a cancer to this country. I beg to differ, my friend. This that we're watching right here is the real cancer to our country. These people are the swamp. They are taking money from the middle class and giving it to the billionaire class. Stop defending the billionaires. Stop defending the people that want to continue watching you make $7 an hour or $12 an hour working minimum wage for the rest of your life, barely affording a car, barely affording a home, barely affording health insurance, while they fatten their pockets. This MAGA movement has become a fraud movement. They are tricking working people into thinking that they are looking out for working people, when in reality, they are stealing your money and putting it into billionaires' pockets. And don't even come at me with the tax plan, because that plan disproportionately benefits wealthy billionaires and ultra millionaires and does very little. In fact, I would say it does jack shit for the average American. And if you disagree with me, it's because you haven't seen the data and I have.
Our secretary is doing a great job. Thank you, Brooke. And we have negotiated historic trade deals with the United.
Liberal tears taste great. Yeah, I'm so happy that you like sucking off billionaires more than you like uplifting the working class. I'm so happy that you love sending money to Israel so they can continue bombing civilians. I'm so happy that you love not having health care for every American. I'm so glad you love having a country where Marines are being sent to U.S. cities to terrorize American citizens. Yeah, liberal tears, blah, blah, blah. And by the way, I'm not a fucking liberal.
Kingdom, China, Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines, Japan, South Korea, who was here yesterday, and the European Union. Foreign nations are now paying hundreds of billions of dollars straight into our treasury, and numbers that nobody's ever seen before. As you know, we made trade deals with a lot.
By the way, I just want to straighten it up for everybody who's watching, so you all are aware. I am a registered Democrat, and I do vote for Democrats. I'm a registered Democrat mainly because I want to be able to vote in Democrat primaries, so I can actually vote for who is the best Democrat. Do I personally identify as a Democrat? Not necessarily, because I don't want to be on a team. This isn't a team sport. I am a progressive because I want progress for our country. I'm trying to actually propel us into the 21st century, because my generation can't afford to buy a home, and my kids' generation, I don't have kids yet, but when I do, they surely won't be able to afford to buy a home, and definitely will be living in a very climate destabilized era of humanity, not to mention all these wars that Donald Trump is gearing us up for. And by the way, the no new wars president, that you've got another thing coming. He's literally about to talk about how he wants to rename the Department of Defense to the Department of War, because he doesn't want to just be a defensive country, he wants to be an offensive country. Straight up.
A lot of countries, and many of those countries, just to be able to sit at the table, are paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. We made trade deal with the European Union. They were rough on us for a long time. And now we have a very good deal. We made that with them. Trillions of dollars is coming into our country. Trillions. Far beyond billions, trillions of dollars. Wouldn't you say, Scott?
Yes, sir.
And in a short period of time.
Yes, sir, Mr. President.
They have to buy $750 billion worth of our energy product. Energy is great. We have more than anybody else, so we're using it. But the European Union is a done deal, and Japan is done. I heard there was a problem with South Korea, but we met yesterday, and they're done. We didn't do anything. We just kept the same deal. He honored the deal. They wanted to see if, I don't even want to say it, but they wanted to see if they could do something. But they honored the deal, which is nice. And we cut the previous record-setting trade deficit, I hear, just came out. We cut it in half already. We haven't even said, we've only been here really for a few months, because, you know, it takes you a little while to fix up the overall.
This is where he, like, again, tries to reset the expectations. He's like, well, we've only really been here for a few months, so don't blame us that nothing's gotten done. Like, we've only been here for a couple months. It's been almost a year now, by the way. I don't think people realize that. We're literally coming up on November. September's right around the corner. Then it's going to be October. Then it's going to be November. He will have been in office for a year. Nothing's gotten more affordable. Everything's getting more expensive. There's no plan to address the housing crisis in this country. There's no plan to give people health care. Right now we have two wars going on that he promised to solve, neither of which are even close to being solved, and both have gotten worse. There's literally a famine going on in Gaza, and in Ukraine, they are stringing him along because Russia is planning on invading all of Ukraine, thanks to Donald Trump's ineptitude and failure in leadership.
Office and do those things, prepare for the battle, right? So we really only been here for a very short period of time, and we cut the trade deficit in half. Is that right? That's fantastic.
Wrong. How is that even
I didn't
close to
even
right?
think we were gonna do
Who
that.
said
and
that?
Remember, these are things that are being built. These things are, all these numbers, they're not open yet. When they open, you're going to see things happen in the United States that nobody's ever seen before, including our country in its heyday. And I had the greatest economy in the history of our country my first 4 years, despite COVID, which was a very unfortunate situation for the whole world. We did a great job with it, never got the credit.
It's funny, like whenever he talks about it, you can tell he's clearly upset about it. In reality, yes, COVID affected the whole world, but Donald Trump's failure as president caused more Americans to lose their lives than other countries. And by the way, we had a 9/11 equivalent number of deaths every single day in this country because of his failed leadership. He had a private phone call during the start of the pandemic with some advisors who said, "Sir, it's going to be really bad. It's going to be bad, sir. This is going to be a very bad disease." And he's like, "Oh, okay. Thank you for telling me." And then told the American public, "Oh, it's going to go away by Easter. It's not that bad. And by the way, it's just like a cough." And then he said, "No Americans are going to get it." Then he said, "No Americans are going to lose their lives." And people started literally being carried out of places in body bags, and grocery stores were barren. And by the way, nobody could go to work, nobody could go to school, all under Donald Trump's failed leadership. He politicized masks, which is so disgusting. And by the way, history will set the record straight that wearing a mask was simply about protecting other Americans. It was about protecting people who might be elderly, who might be sick. People are like, "Oh, you wear a mask, like you're such a wussy, like you wear a mask, you're afraid of catching COVID." No, you fucking idiot. It's about protecting somebody else's life. You claim to be an American. You claim to be an American patriot. Wearing a mask is about saving someone else's health because you're reducing the spread from yourself to reach another person. So it's about protecting that old lady who's living at the nursing home who might be immunocompromised. It's about protecting that person with cancer who's struggling. So what? Oh my God, and somebody says the numbers were lies. Dude, people were dying every single day because of COVID everywhere around the world, but especially here in the United States. The footage doesn't lie. Everybody knows somebody that either got seriously sick from this disease or died. Karl Anthony Towns, the NBA player, he lost like his entire family because of this disease. And Trump has the audacity to say that America did so great and Trump doesn't get enough credit. Trump literally caused 500,000 Americans to lose their lives and still downplays it to this day and just hopes that this country is too stupid to remember. He hopes that we just have collective amnesia about the whole thing. We don't remember Donald Trump hosting these massive rallies at a time where people were literally just getting sick and dying every single day.
For the job we did. Operation Warp Speed, people say, is one of the greatest achievements ever in politics or in the military, because it was almost a military procedure. But everybody, including Putin, said that Operation Warp Speed, what you did with that, nobody can believe it.
Even Putin? Why are we talking about Putin? We know you want to suck him off, bro. We know you want to suck him off. It's fine. You can just take your pants off already for Putin. But here's the reality. You are literally overseeing an administration that is talking about removing vaccines entirely from the market because you have some whack conspiracy theorists who think vaccines give people autism, who think vaccines make people gay and transgender or whatever. So how are you going to take credit for being the president while actual scientists made a vaccine and your administration, literally the guys sitting right around you are saying we should get rid of the vaccine?
And we did a great job, but it was a horrible pall over our country. We had a very dark cloud over the world. That was a very, very bad thing that came out of Wuhan, which I said it came out of Wuhan. That's where it came from. And China suffered greatly, but everybody did. But we did a good job with that, as good as you can possibly do, and we came back, and now we're stronger than ever.
There are so many other countries that actually did a good job. There are countries that actually did at least the bare fucking minimum to look out for their citizens. And we created a culture, thanks to Donald Trump, where it's laughable to wear a mask to protect the old lady who is struggling, who's worried that she could get COVID and die because old people were just dropping like flies, man. And even you had to be airlifted from the White House. You had to be airlifted like the fucking pig that you are. They had to resuscitate this pig. Literally, do you people remember this? They had to resuscitate this pig. He was dying. They airlifted this fat slug from the White House. And by the way, that's what he is. And they airlifted this perfect example of health from the White House. And they brought him to Walter Reed or whatever, the fancy hospital in D.C. Nobody else got that treatment. What about all the old people who are immunocompromised, struggling every day, just barely able to go outside? They couldn't get airlifted by a helicopter and sent straight to the nicest hospital. But yeah, we did such a good job, Mr. President. Everything you do is so fantastic, sir. God bless you, Mr. President. You are the Messiah, sir.
Before, if I didn't win this election, this country was gone. I'm telling you, economically it was gone. None of the things that we're talking about would have happened. And the whole world was robbing us blind. Friend and foe. They were stealing our jobs, our money, our factories. They were stealing everything. We would have been a shell. We would have been a bankrupt, broken shell. And that's the way it is, but we're doing just the opposite. Stronger than we've ever been. Last month, in a landmark achievement, I also proudly signed the largest working class tax cuts in American history. So
he calls it working class tax cuts.
I'm not going to use the
it's
term great, big, beautiful. That was good for getting it approved, but it's not good for explaining to people what it's all about. It's a massive tax cut for the middle class. It's a massive tax cut for jobs, and it's, I mean, think of it, no tax on tips.
Some people hear him say that and they just take it at face value. They're like, yeah, Trump gave us this massive tax cut. Why wouldn't we support Trump? It's like, when you actually pay your taxes, pay attention to what you're paying, because sure, maybe you saved like $200 on your taxes or $300. Wow. But I wonder how much more money you're going to be spending throughout the year on tariffs and health insurance. Meanwhile, if you're making $1 billion, you save like hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe millions of dollars. It's absurd. It's not a working class tax cut. Only somebody who's insecure about the fact that it's not actually benefiting the working class would call it a working class tax cut.
No tax on Social Security. So seniors, I don't know how you can vote for anybody else.
Yeah, there's only 800 billionaires in the US, but they get all the special treatment. And by the way, I'm not just talking about billionaires. I'm talking about the people who are making tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars that support Donald Trump because they know at the end of the day, he has their best interests in mind, not the American taxpayer.
And, just think of that, and no tax on overtime.
I agree. Somebody on TikTok says MAGA will find out. Just give it time. They found out the first time around. Donald Trump destroyed the economy. People were dying from the pandemic, and he tried to overthrow the government. He lost in disgrace. He was kicked out, impeached again. And so it felt like the nation found out, but we just have amnesia, I suppose. And people really were like, well, Kamala Harris is going to make everything more expensive, so I'm going to vote for Trump. Like, say what you will about Kamala Harris, but she actually had a plan to build more affordable housing. She had a plan to give small businesses a $50,000 tax credit. Right now, if you're a small business, you can get maybe a $5,000 tax credit because that's what was set up years ago. That's nothing. You can't do anything. What can you do with $5,000? Maybe hire a couple interns for a week? What? But if you had $50,000, at least that gives you some breathing room. At least you can actually start your American dream and build a business that's going to contribute to the economy. That's called being pro-working class. Where's Donald Trump's plan for small businesses?
So you work overtime, you don't have to pay tax on overtime. That's good. The Democrats don't know what they're going to do. So they have like this soundbite. You know, they have all these sound bites. They send it out. I don't know. Some guy sends out a word, and everybody uses it, including the fake news. Some of you are here right now. I'm looking at you. And It's dead.
I love how he still says like the fake news is here. He's like, the fake news, I'm looking at you right here. When at this point, the only people in the room are people that have been hand selected by their administration to ask them pre-approved questions. Literally. Did you hear the questions yesterday? It was like, Mr. President, sir, there's so much winning going on. Like, I'm getting really erect right now. Can you just like come over here and spank me? And Trump was like, yes, sir. I mean, we're just the best administration ever. Like, you cannot even get in the room anymore if you're not going to just absolutely kiss his ass. And so the fact that he's still like, the fake news is here. Like, are you saying the people that you actually support, the Fox News, the fake news, the far right news, the ones that you're telling us is the real news, you're still calling them the fake news? Like, who are we supposed to trust?
Death. They use the word death. No, it's actually life. It's almost like a newborn life. It's not death. That's their soundbite. The bill is death. It's not. We strengthen Social Security.
Nobody has ever said that.
Medicare, Medicaid.
Nobody has ever said that. And by the way, you did not strengthen Medicaid when nearly 20 million Americans are going to lose it. What bullshit? That is absolute bullshit. What the fuck?
The job we've done on Social Security is, if the Democrats got in, Social Security is over because the country's going to fail. There won't be any Social Security. And I made that pledge to you. We're going to take care of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and we're doing that in spades because the country is becoming so successful again. And it hasn't been this successful. I think in the end, it will never have been this successful. I don't think it'll even be close with what's happening. Every American is seeing a tax cut as a result of the bill. The average police officer will keep an extra $1,000 a year at least in overtime, and the average waiter or waitress will keep nearly $2,000 extra in the fact that they would have had to pay that kind of money on tips.
Random numbers.
And I never realized that the government was so strong on that. But waitresses, waiters would tell me that the government.
So how come the minimum wage is $7, sir? $7 is the federal minimum wage. At least I live in a state like California where there's a decent, minimum wage. Not even. But if you're working in some place where you're going by strictly the federal minimum wage, it's like $7.25. What? How can you even live on that? That's ridiculous.
Go after them. Like, it was horrible. That's how it all started with me. It just was incredible. And the biggest thing was, again, the $4 trillion that they found. They said
someone on TikTok. By the way, I'm going to say it again. I want to remind every 20 minutes or so to the 126 people watching on TikTok. Thank you for being here. But I promise you, come to YouTube. Just go to the link in my bio on my TikTok profile or search Josh the Progressive on YouTube. If you come to YouTube, you can actually watch what we're looking at. So you'll see Trump on your screen. It's a much better time, and it actually helps me a lot more. So come to YouTube. And somebody says, have you ever waited tables? They're like trying to get at me. No, I never worked in the food service industry, but I've worked as an Uber driver. I've worked in retail. I've worked at the state parks. So I've worked a variety of jobs. Many were for minimum wage. I actually worked in manufacturing. I worked in the sports industry. We were making surfboards. And that job was working minimum wage. There were actually undocumented people working there, which was great. They were hard workers, by the way. Some people were not legal citizens. They were hard workers. And the sad part is that company, they were doing a lot of their manufacturing out of China, and somehow they're Trump supporters, and now they're probably facing heavy tariffs.
Well, that was nice. They should have announced it. I could have told them that. And I don't know. It should be simple. But a lot of people didn't understand it. Actually, a lot of good people didn't understand it. But now they're saying, Trump was right. They'd never seen anything like this. And I don't know what it is, Scott. They didn't understand what we were
that's what he sounds like now. He's like,
trying to explain to him what's going to happen. Everybody's moving back to the United States because they don't want to pay a tax. If they're not here, they have to pay a tax. And it didn't seem that complicated, but it's working at a level that nobody can imagine. This is working $4 trillion, but that's a big number. It's a number that nobody ever heard of before. But $4 trillion is exciting. But that's nothing compared to what's happening, because these places haven't even opened yet. Some of them haven't even started hiring yet. They're under construction. So it's construction jobs, but it's not the big number, and the big numbers, when they open, they're going to be very successful. It's a revolution. We're also working on things to ensure that the awesome power of artificial intelligence is used to benefit all Americans, including American workers and also American children. In that spirit, our wonderful First Lady has just announced a presidential AI challenge. It's going to be a very good challenge, I can tell you.
What is this challenge?
Put her heart into it, which will inspire the next generation to stay on the cutting edge of this vital technology. This is the new internet, the new computer, the new television, the new everything, all put together in one. This is why
we cannot have the president of the United States be somebody that was like, you know, barely functioning when the internet was invented. Like, do you hear the way he talks about this stuff? This is the same thing that happened when he went in the Tesla. He was in the Tesla and he's like, wow, look at the computer in the Tesla. If you're going to be the president of the United States in the 21st century, you need to have a serious understanding of the digital age. You need to have a serious understanding of technology, of what's coming up in the future. And Donald Trump has like a 1975 understanding of how technology works. And he's like, AI is going to be like the new computer, the new internet. What are you talking about? It's been here. It's already been here. And this administration is already so behind on regulating it. They're already so behind on actually delivering results to make sure that this is going to benefit people and it's not going to automate and replace people's jobs.
When I show you a picture like that, I mean, I show you this. This is a factory superimposed over the island of Manhattan. And you have many of them being built right now all over the country, or soon to start. Some of them have started. This one has actually started.
Is he having dementia right now? Because he keeps doing the same things that he did in this meeting, which, by the way, I still don't understand what the point of this cabinet meeting is. Hopefully he'll reveal that to us soon, because so far it's just been him talking for an hour.
That's in the great state of Louisiana. But the First Lady is working very hard on this, and it's an important initiative. And Melania, when she puts her mind to it, nobody can do better. There's nobody. So
what a weird dig at Melania, by the way. I don't know if he meant it like that, but he's like, when she puts her mind to it. Like, are you saying like only sometimes when she like really tries really, really hard, she gets something done? Donald Trump, when he puts his mind to it, he almost fucks up our country.
Every young person should go to AI.gov to learn more.
Don't go there.
AI.gov to learn more.
Don't go there.
And you'll see it's a great challenge. I think it's going to be a very modern kind of a challenge that involves AI, which is very exciting to people.
I don't even remember the URL. Don't go to it.
Raise a lot of money for children.
Don't give them the attention.
We're putting America first, and we're going to be putting the American worker first. And, you know, the Republican Party has picked up 4 million new people. 4 million. The Democrats have lost 2.5 million. Other than that, they're extremely happy. No, they're very depressed. They're very depressed. And their new box that they've fallen into is crime. There was a consultant on one of the shows this morning I was watching. I thought he was very good. He's a Democrat consultant. And he was screaming, no, no, don't let him do this to you. Don't let, it's another trap. It's another trap. What he's talking about, like men playing in women's sports. They said that's an 80-20. No, it's a 97-3.
So what he's talking about, this is a really important moment here. He is saying that the Democrats are now making themselves appear pro-crime. And this is already what Fox News is doing. These MAGA influencers, these fake celebrities, these absolute chodes are taking Donald Trump's marching orders, and they're saying, the Democrats have revealed themselves as pro-crime. I can't believe the Democrats are crying because Donald Trump is trying to actually clean up the crime. No, Donald Trump is creating crime. Donald Trump is sending the military into cities to simply incite violence. He's asking for riots to happen. He's going after cities that are already doing the work to address crime. He's not actually working with the leaders of those communities to solve crime. He's creating crime. And by the way, he is a criminal. And by the way, Donald Trump is defunding the police in his big, beautiful bill. There's like $800 million worth of cuts to funding that would have allowed for more police programs, more mental health services, things that could actually shift the narrative. All cut. Donald Trump is defunding the police. He's creating crime, and he is a criminal. But right now, he is trying to trap the Democrats, if you will, by making them look like the party of crime, and Donald Trump can be seen as the law and order president. This is the time where Democrats cannot fall into their same bullshit. They cannot be going to the right on this. They cannot be moving towards MAGA on this and saying, we're going to be tough on crime too. We're going to work with you, Mr. President. No, the Democrats need to follow the lead of Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker, who are by no means the most progressive, the most leftist people we have out there. But they are at least saying, you know what? No, we're not going to work with you, Mr. President. We are not going to let you have this one and say that we are overrun by crime. We're going to push back on that because we're actually working to address our own problems. You're only making things worse.
It's 97.3, like transgender for everybody. They fought for it. They're still fighting for it. I saw a guy today, a politician
That's one of my favorite things
that you all know very well, fighting like hell for men playing in women's sports. You don't understand. They're human beings also. Well, I agree they're human beings. But you can't have a 7-foot guy playing basketball with the women. You know, just one of those little problems in life. And we all have our place. It's okay. I've got my place too. But this guy's screaming, it's another trap. And this is the worst of all. He said, because this is crime. Trump is saying he's against crime and they're for crime. No, he's going, it was funny. No, it's a trap. Don't do it. And then
this is literally how the Democrats are going to move to the right. They are going to be like, we aren't pro-crime. We're with you, Mr. President. But after we watch Trump, I want to pull up J.B. Pritzker's speech because I think he actually did such a good job of creating the language that Democrats should be using, where he says, no, we are not pro-crime. We are just against Donald Trump sending the military into these situations. And by the way, you know who's anti-military? Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is the one disrespecting the military by just throwing them onto American streets. They're not supposed to do that. They're not trained to do that. It shows you the type of regard he has for our military, that he will use them as pawns for political gain.
I saw this poor, stupid Chuck Schumer, the guy. He looks like he's aged 100 years, and I don't like getting into looks. You know, looks don't mean anything, right? When you're in politics, looks don't matter. I look at Pam, I would never say she's beautiful because that'd be the end of my political career. Glory.
Why are you hitting on your staff again? Dude, what is the point of this cabinet meeting? Why are we hitting on Pam Bondi? We know that's the reason you picked her. We know that she's your DEI hire. We know that she's your DEI hire. But you need to keep your DICK in your pants, you fucking disgusting pig. Focus on the cabinet meeting.
Secretary, but I will tell you.
Leave Kristi Noem's name out your mouth.
And
keep your DICK in your pants, you disgusting slob.
Fight me, like this slob of a governor you have in Illinois. This poor guy got thrown out of his business by his family. I know the family. I was partners with the family. Nice family. I like the family, but he was no good. They threw him out. He's governor of Illinois, and he goes about Trump, we don't need his help. Chicago is the worst. These places are really bad. Crime in D.C. was the worst it ever was. You know, they make up stories. Crime in D.C. was the worst ever in history. And now, over the last 13 days, we've worked so hard. And we've taken so many, there are many left, but we've taken so many criminals, over 1,000. I watched a man from Maryland who
the Maryland man
said to me, sir, you're the greatest president. You're doing an unbelievable job. What a great job. Governor Moore, has anyone heard of him?
I'm going to do a quick little pause here. Hey, thanks for watching, everybody. If you're on TikTok, come join me on YouTube. I'm reading the YouTube comments right now. Got a little bit more of a simple setup right now, but This week, I will be back to my usual setup. Looks like Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are engaged. That's great news, everybody. Like I said, if you're on TikTok, come join on YouTube. There's already people on YouTube who are saying we're from TikTok. Much better viewing experience because you can actually watch what we're looking at. Right now, we're taking a look at Donald Trump's cabinet meeting today. Donald Trump is about to do something in this cabinet meeting. I'm not really sure because he hasn't really got to the point yet, but there's already been a lot said that is very harmful for the country. And then, if you're on TikTok, come to YouTube because we're going to watch JB Pritzker respond to Donald Trump's pending takeover of the city of Chicago. That is already queued up. We're going to watch that shortly after we finish Donald Trump's cabinet meeting, which we're almost to the end of. So go to the link in my bio on TikTok. You can also go on YouTube and search Josh the Progressive. And wherever you're watching, I'm Josh Greene. Welcome to the Progressive Pulse. We're live throughout the week. This is our way of countering mainstream media. I'm an independent political commentator. If you want to support my work directly, you can do so via Buy Me a Coffee or Venmo. Both are linked in my description and both are linked in my bio as well. $1, $2, $3, $5. It helps pay for the equipment. It helps me upgrade this stream so that we can make a real show. That is much appreciated. But even if you don't want to financially contribute, all you can do is share the video, like the video, and subscribe, and it helps me spread the word. Let's resume taking a look at Donald Trump's cabinet meeting. Oop.
He's another hopeful for president. I don't think so. But I met him, and I didn't realize it was on camera. Did you see they caught him on camera? I was at a game, I don't know, like the Army-Navy game or something. And I met him in a hallway. And as usual, you do your job very well. One of these great cameramen had it on tape. But I met this gentleman. I never met him before. Sir, you're doing a great job. You're doing an unbelievable job. Thank you very much. But then he goes on television and says, oh, Trump is a dictator. He's a dictator. And a lot of people have been, so the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, you know, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator.
That's the second day in a row he said that, by the way. That's the second day in a row he said, I think a lot of people say we'd rather have a dictator. I want to run that back, and I'm going to start recording this again. That's an important point here. Stand by. Okay. Listen to this.
And I met him in a hallway. And as usual, you do your job very well. One of these great cameramen had it on tape. But I met this gentleman. I never met him before. Sir, you're doing a great job. You're doing an unbelievable job. Thank you very much. But then he goes on television and says, oh, Trump is a dictator. He's a dictator. And a lot of people have been, so the line is that I'm a dictator, but I stop crime. So a lot of people say, you know, if that's the case, I'd rather have a dictator. But I'm not.
For the first time, I am actually willing to admit that Donald Trump is right about something. He is absolutely correct about this. Oh, you probably think I'm going to say that he stops crime. No, what I'm actually saying is Donald Trump is right. People want him to be a dictator. Literally, there are Trump supporters out there, a lot of them, that would rather have a dictator than a president because they are not real Americans. They do not believe in the constitutional republic that they claim to care about. They want to be ruled and dominated. They want to be dominated like little servants. They want to be dominated like little obedient, submissive serfs working for this president. They want this president to tell them where to work, what they're going to make, when to show up for the riot. People were literally asked on the street, would you rather have Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, or would you rather have Putin? And they said they'd rather have Putin. Putin hasn't been the fairly elected president of Russia for decades. And people actually would rather have Donald Trump as a fascist thug running this president than a real president because they want to be ruled. They want Donald Trump to just be the dictator. And that's how you know that we're dealing with a cold civil war. It's a cold civil war. We're not actually on the battle lines here. But the days of working together, the days of working across the aisle are long gone because you have the Democrat Party, which is basically a moderate conservative party. And you have this overt fascist far-right party, which is literally saying that the other half of the country, the Democrats, are the enemy within. They are traitors, they are scum, and they are the threat to America. We have never been more divided. Never. I would say we are even more divided than we were during the Civil War.
Not a dictator. I just know how to stop crime. And you would think that Illinois, where they have such a problem with crime, such a bad governor, he should be calling me and he should be saying, could you send over the troops, please? It's out of control.
No, actually, J.B. Pritzker said, do not come to Chicago, and if you harm any people in Chicago, we will come after you with the fullest extent of the Constitution, because Donald Trump doesn't care about the Constitution. And by the way, the audacity of Republicans these days to still act like they care about the Constitution when they only use it as a prop for political gain when it's convenient for them. They only care about the Second Amendment, but they don't care about the First Amendment. They don't care about the Fifth Amendment. They don't care about anything else. I guarantee you they don't even know the amendments. They don't. They don't know the Bill of Rights. They don't know what's in the Constitution. They've never read the Constitution. But what they do know is Donald Trump is their dictator.
It's out of control. In New York, it's out of control. Not as bad as Illinois, by the way. Not even close. In California, you would have not had the Olympics had I not sent in the troops. Sent in the National Guard. They did a fantastic job.
That's complete bullshit, by the way. I'm in California. Things are largely fine. And by the way, you can't have it both ways. You can't say that things are burning to the ground and California is a war zone, and then magically in a week it's the safest place on earth and we're going to have the Olympics again. And by the way, you can't take credit for that. You can't say, oh, well, I saved LA, now we're going to have the Olympics, but still say that we need to be spending hundreds of billions of dollars on ICE and sending National Guard to states that you claim you've already saved. That's how you know they have zero credibility and they are so detached from reality. They have no idea what's going on, or they know exactly what's going on, but they hope you are too stupid to pay attention.
We have the Olympics, we have the World Cup coming. I got them in my first term, and I was really sad because I said, oh boy, I got them and I won't be president. And little things happen. Thank you, God. Thank you. Little things happen. Think of it. You can ask Johnny. Johnny would tell you.
Did he just thank God? You can tell he's getting more and more religious. I say that with quotes because he's not a real Christian, by the way. This man has probably had more abortions than can be named. And by the way, he literally has cheated on people. He's a known sexual abuser. He's most likely well in the Epstein files. But now he wants to claim he's a holier-than-thou Christian because either his time is running up or he knows he's desperate for more political power and he's trying to convince people that he's an evangelical, even though he's a disgusting slob and a pedophile.
He's the head of World Cup. He's a great guy, too, great commissioner. But he's the head of the World Cup. He said Trump is the only reason we're doing this. And the sad part is that I was not going to have it. I would have to be, probably I wouldn't have even been invited to the game, depending on who's president, right? And I got that. I did not get 250, okay? The 250th anniversary, I did not get. I'd like to claim it, if I might, but I did get that. That was whether I was president or not, it was still 250. I'd like to take credit for it. What I will take credit for is we're going to have a better celebration under Trump than you would have had under some stuff. That I'll take care of. We're going to have a safer place, Christy, because of you and Tom Homan and everybody, right? But, so we have 250 coming up. We have the World Cup coming up, which is like having 45 Super Bowls.
I don't think other countries are going to be happy coming here. Tourism is already down in the United States. If I were living in another country, there's no way I would want to come to the United States right now. Imagine the stuff that we're seeing in the United States happening in another country. Like, let's say this was happening in China. If you're watching on TV, China's government is sending the military into cities to patrol the cities, and China's government is rounding up people who are citizens, but they happen to speak a different language, they happen to look different, and there's no due process, and they're thrown into a van, and you're watching footage of that. Why in the world would you travel to China? The answer is simple: you wouldn't. So why would people want to come here to watch the Olympics and the World Cup? They won't. And so we are probably going to have a very bad turnout. It's sad, but it's the reality.
and we have the Olympics coming up. So we're going to have a very exciting 3.5 years remaining. We're going to have a very exciting. It's going to be done. It's going to be done properly. So I just want to tell you, our country's in incredible shape. Our military is strong and powerful and respected.
Is that the purpose of this cabinet meeting, to just talk about how this country is in incredible shape? Because we literally went through this song and dance yesterday. You're saying all the same stuff, this time just a little more sleepy, a little more demented. You're clearly losing your mind. But yeah, let's continue.
We had some fantastic decisions from the Supreme Court that let us put the people into the military and other businesses that are best for the job, as opposed to some woke reason that was killing our country. That was a very strong, very powerful. You can now go into a company based on your ability, as opposed to being forced in based on some factor that cannot make our country great. That was a big decision, very, very big decision. And we've had a lot of great decisions, and we've all made some great decisions sitting around this table. I want to thank Scott. Unbelievable what's happening financially with you and Howard. And Vice President's involved in everything, and he's been great. And Marco has been, really, I think you're born for this job. I don't think you should ever run for another office. I don't think you should, really. You're so good at this. He is so good. And everybody likes him, you know, everybody.
Can you believe this? Listen to this. Hold on one sec. My live on TikTok just got removed for misinformation. What? And by the way, if you heard dogs barking, apologies. I just got my live removed for misinformation. What? Are you kidding me right now? I've already appealed it. But that is insanity. When I am actually combating misinformation, I'm literally trying to share the truth and push back on the misinformation that's coming out of this White House. Yet you have people like Charlie Kirk and Colin Rugg and whatever, they say whatever misinformation they want with no pushback. And I'm literally pushing back on the lies of this administration, and we get banned for misinformation. That is crazy. I am going to get this going in just a sec, but wow, I need to appeal that. That is absurd. Maybe I'll get the live going on Instagram so people are aware. Let me do that real quick. That is so fucked up. That is so fucked up. Let me know in the chat what you think about that. Do you think I'm spreading misinformation? Was there any misinformation spread so far in this stream? Please let me know. Was there one piece of misinformation? I don't think there was. But let me know. I'm going to go live on Instagram now, real quick. Let me let everyone on YouTube know that we're live. And I'm going to just continue showing this so everybody can see as well.
Everybody likes him, but everybody, much more importantly than like, I think you would say, is respect. They respect Marco. They respect all the people around the table. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to go around the table. You seem to like it. Your audience seems to like it based on ratings. And I want to mention, about crime, because we have a young lady here, Iris.
What?
Of Epoch Times. You're Iris, aren't you, huh? And I heard you were very savagely mugged.
I just tried to go live on YouTube and it's not letting me. Am I just banned from going live? What is happening right now? Why can't I go live? Are you kidding me? Hang on, give me a second, folks. That is absurd. What is going on right now? That is so fucked up. Let me ask people for help real quick because, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. That is absurd. Let me play this so everybody can see, but yeah, that's really fucked up.
In the city, and I'm not going to let that happen under this administration. That was last year. And would you like to mention what happened?
Of course. So first of all, thank you, Mr. President.
You want to listen to this?
For having me here to share my story to the room and to the broader public. My name is Iris Tao. I'm a White House correspondent for NTD, the sister media of the Epoch Times. So more than 2 years ago, it was a Saturday morning in broad daylight. I was on my way to work, and a young man with a black ski mask pointed a gun at my face and threatened me to hand over my phone, my wallet, my laptop, and everything else. And when I refused, he used the butt of his handgun to strike me across the face, in the cheek, or what some people call pistol whip me, before running away. And that has deeply traumatized myself and my family. Ever since, I've never dared to walk in the street of DC at night, ever, and my family was extremely worried. So, Mr. President, thank you so much for what you're doing.
Thank you, Iris, for being honest.
Such incidents involved not just me, but also my family. If he had shot me, I could have died right there in the middle of nowhere without my families or my friends knowing at the age of back then, I think 23.
Right.
Just starting my career here in DC without even starting a family. But now I'm very blessed to have this opportunity.
So you had a gun pointed at your head, and you probably figured that he's going to pull the trigger because these are animals that don't know what the hell, they couldn't care less. The pulling the trigger to him is a very minor event, and I'm sure he's done it before. So how did you, and you did refuse to give it, which would probably, maybe somebody would say that was not the right decision, right?
Right.
But you refused, but I understand that. So, and then he hit you real hard.
Yes.
It's really amazing that you weren't shot, though, isn't it?
I'm very blessed, and that's why having this opportunity to stand here to share my story today. One, I'm very grateful for God for allowing me to still survive to this day, but also to Mr. President. Thank you for now making DC safer.
Thank you very much.
For us, for our families, for my parents, on my behalf of my parents, and now my
God,
baby
it's
on
so
the way.
annoying.
Thank you so much.
And there are other reporters and journalists, good people, and you don't have to say it, but that have also been attacked violently. And not violently, too, but pretty badly. But, and I bet you see a big difference in the streets right now. And this is only 12 days, but people are telling me they're going out to dinner now. They haven't, I told my friend, but I have a lot of friends that are going out to dinner all the time now in DC, and they weren't doing it 12 days ago. They would never even think. One of my friends went out 5 times. It was 4 times the last time I told. Now it's 5 times. He said, I love going out to dinner, and restaurants are starting to open again. A lot of them closed because, nobody wanted to go into a restaurant. Nobody wanted to get to a restaurant or even sit in the restaurant. But you see a big difference now, don't you?
I do pass by Union Station every day on my way home, and I do feel a lot safer seeing the trucks right outside, seeing the National Guard troops members right outside. It does make me feel like I'm hopeful about
Wow,
DC.
my
And
live was
one day,
banned
hopefully,
from
we can
TikTok.
raise our family here.
Thank you
until
very much.
September.
That's nice. And those are tough troops, too.
Great job,
Those are
TikTok.
not
You're really doing an
politically
amazing
correct
job.
troops. We don't have politically correct anymore. We have tough guys, tough people, including some tough women. But we have tough people, and when you look at them, I tell you, they showed one scene where a bunch of Trinidad guys or whatever.
All right, well, let me get
maybe
this going.
MS-13, maybe
Maybe I'll just go live on my other
MSDNC.
TikTok.
Okay, because to me they're worse. I think they're worse. MSNBC maybe is worse than Trinidad. Real scum, real dishonest people. But anyway, they went into this gang. I think it was Trinidad, Venezuela, and they weren't nice to this group of people. The gang was calling them sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Get out of here. Get the hell out of here. You're no good. Get out of here. And yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes. These are people that beat up people all day long, and they're calling these soldiers. That's what they are. They're real soldiers. There's no games. I said, you don't have to be politically correct. And you know the way they used to spit in the face of the soldiers, with the soldiers standing like this, and you'd have some guy or some woman sometimes screaming at them from 1 inch away. They're standing there, and they're told you cannot do anything, and they start spitting, actually spitting in their face. And I said, you spit, we hit. And they're totally authorized to do that. All
They're
of
not,
those
by the
things.
way.
But your story is great, and there are other stories here, but they don't have to
Not
tell
authorized
them.
to do that.
Some people are ashamed to tell them. They don't want to tell them. But it was like a jungle. and it's not a jungle anymore. And it's going to get so good that this will be the safest capital there is. It'll be one of the safest places in our nation anywhere. And right now it's one of the most unsafe places, but not now. 12 days ago, it was the most unsafe place in our nation. And they have to stop.
How could it go from the most unsafe
false
place
crime
in
numbers
the nation
because,
to suddenly it's the safest
I
place
heard
in the
the
world?
mayor, and I like the mayor.
This
fine.
guy deals
I don't
only in
care if I like her or
extremes.
not. If she did her job, I wish she were a horrible person who did her job. But she's probably nice, I guess. I don't care. I want her to do a job. But the issue, false numbers. She said crime is down. Before we got, now they can say crime is down. Crime is very much down. But what they did is they issued numbers. It's the best in 30 years. Not the best. It's the worst. It's the worst. It's much worse. And they gave phony numbers. And then they fired the man who didn't want to write the phony numbers. He got fired. And I guess that whole situation's under investigation.
They literally now
because
just
it's a
fire
very
people
important
who
thing, Pam.
release
I mean, if they're going to
numbers.
give these phony numbers,
This is so 1984. If you release numbers that this administration disagrees with, you're just going to get fired. That's just the way it goes now.
it's a false feeling that you get crime. You have to do something about it. And you can't go around saying, "Oh, Washington D.C. safe," if it's not. It's going to be very safe very soon. It's very safe right now. You're going to go out, have dinner. People are going out all over the place. They're
I don't think
walking.
they are.
People that-
Why would anybody want to go to
I have
D.C. right now?
People that work in government, strong, tough.
Hey, if you're in my comments on YouTube right now, tell me, would you prefer to go to D.C. now with the National Guard walking around with weapons everywhere trying to scare people, knowing that some National Guard member could accidentally just shoot you? Or would you rather go out in D.C. A few months ago when things were mostly calm? Let me know.
Tough cookies. They can take care of themselves, but it doesn't help to have big, strong muscles. And I work out. If a guy's over there with a gun shooting you in your face,
That's what's
you could be
happening
the
now. We have
strongest
National
guy in
Guard
the
with
world. Guy
guns.
has a gun, shoots you in the face. It doesn't matter how much you've worked out, how many weights you've lifted, how hard you work, and so we have the toughest guys and we have the best guys. And I'm willing to go to Chicago, which is a big trouble, but we have a governor that refuses to admit he has problems, huge problems. Baltimore, Wes Moore was telling me I want to walk with the president. Well, I said, I want to walk with you too someday, but first you got to clean up your crime because I'm not walking in Baltimore right now. Baltimore is a hellhole. And this guy, I don't even think he knows it. He's another candidate for president. Between him and Newsom, you got some real beauties.
So disrespectful to the people of Baltimore. And you're in Maryland. Why would you ever vote for this guy? He's just saying your place is a hellhole. He's never walking there.
I'll tell you.
I guarantee
But
people
if we
walking around
didn't go
Baltimore
into
right now
Los
is safe.
Angeles, you wouldn't have the Olympics, in my opinion. You wouldn't have the Olympics. We went in, and the sheriff, the boss, said, "Thank God they're here." You could see his tape. He said, "We were not able to control what was happening." That was the sheriff. And he said it loud and clear. And, they're suing us for going in and cleaning up crime. And yet their own sheriff said, on the first or second night, he said, we could have never handled. That was going to be, you were not going to have the Olympics or the World Cup, because that would be, there wouldn't be anything left. They shouldn't have lost 25,000 houses. The water was turned off from the Pacific Northwest. And
how do you turn
I was
off the
after
water
them
from the
in my
Pacific
first
Northwest?
administration, turn on the water.
Can some Trump supporter explain to me, how do you turn the water off from the Pacific Northwest? Does anybody have any facts about that? I'll wait.
Water, turn it on. Nobody could have believed this could have happened. But they had no water in the fire hydrants. They had no water in the sprinkler systems that people put up in their ceilings. There was no water. And yet we have tremendous amounts of water. They send it all into the Pacific Ocean, trying to protect a certain little fish. It's not doing well because it doesn't do well without water either.
YouTube chat on my phone
And
here.
it shouldn't be protected because it shouldn't be a protected species. But I think that's actually just an excuse. I actually think these people are sick. There's something wrong. So we send hundreds of millions of gallons of water a day into the Pacific Ocean. They turn a valve, and the valve heads out, and we turned the valve back. I actually had to do it using force. We turned the valve back, and now they have water, but not as much as they should have, because they should, and I'm telling Gavin Newsom by this conversation right now, turn the rest of the water on. Turn it on.
Dude, there's no magic valve to turn the water on. What are we talking about?
So things are done that are so sad in this country. Lack of common sense. I like to say the Republican Party is the party with common sense. We're smart, we're sharp, we're this and that. They're smart, but they're radical left people. And they can't help it. They're very smart, but they're radical left, and they're destroying our country, but they're not going to destroy it anymore. So we picked up millions of people in the Republican Party. They lost millions of people. And I think we're going to do very well in the midterms. And I just want to say one other thing, and that's medicine. The cost of medicine all over the world is much cheaper than the United States, because for years the world pushed us around, including our friends. And you go to Germany, you go to England, you go to different places, and you go to a store, and it's sometimes 10% of what we pay in the United States, because they said, nope, we're not paying any more. You charge the United States. This went on for
Hey, remember
25,
Donald
30
Trump
years.
Was supposed to release a
And I
healthcare
invoked
plan?
favored nations. I said, I
Back
want
in
to pay the same as
2015.
they pay.
It's 10 years
And
later now. Where's the healthcare
Bobby
plan?
Kennedy is doing a good job, and Dr. Oz is doing a good job. And I asked them, I mean, other than the basics that they're doing on autism and other thing, which we got to solve that problem because it's crazy, it's happening, it's out of hand. But this is the most important thing that can be done, is favored nations, Bobby. And we're not talking about a 25% cut or 50. We're talking about a 1,500% cut, because people go to Europe to buy drugs, and they come back with drugs, prescription drugs, normal, not, I don't mean the bad drugs, I mean prescription drugs, because you can buy them for 10%, 15%, 20%, or what. So they're going to go up in price. And I told the countries, and I get along good with all of them. I mean, you could ask any, I get along good with all of them. But I said, you know, I told them, I said, you're going to go up a little bit because it's the world. It's the world. So more people in the world than we have. We're going to go down a lot, and they're going to go up a little. And it's called equalization. We're going to have equalization. So we pay the same price as the lowest drug sold anywhere in the world. And I think, Bobby, that's going to happen pretty soon. The companies are ready for it. They had to go for years. I was with a very great gentleman from Eli Lilly. I think he's an incredible executive. I mean, I'll mention the company and I'll mention him, because we had this argument my first term, and then we had it in my second term. In my second term, I wouldn't stop until I won the point, and he threw up his hands. He says, you're right, I can no longer defend it. I can no longer defend that a pill that's made by Johnson & Johnson in a factory, in the same factory in the United States versus a place in Europe or other places, including Canada, by the way, you could buy it for 10% or 15% or 20%.
The sad part
The
is
cost of
most
what
Trump
we're
supporters
paying.
don't
Well,
even
we'd pay
watch
5,
Trump
6,
talk.
7 times
They don't
more
even
money.
tune in every day
He
like
said-
we do.
So
Because
hardest
we're
part
actually
of my
trying to
job,
stand for
defending that, I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm saying that we have to get down to business. And that's a great company. He's done a great job, and I appreciated it. And it really broke the ice, because they were saying, well, we have to do research and development. Well, you have to do it for Germany and all these other countries too. Well, they think the United States should bear it. I mean, I heard this stuff and I finally said, it's over. Now, you have to have somebody that can get these countries to do it. I told them, if you don't do it, we're going to charge you a 25% tariff on everything you send into our country. That's much more money than what we're talking about. Then we have to get the drug companies to do it, and they'll do it because we have tremendous power over the drug companies too. So we're going to get it done. I just hope we get it done fast, Bobby, because this thing should go fast. But we're going to get, the cost of medicine is going to be 1,000%. Think of that. Not 2%. And I'll just tell this last story. When I was in my first term, in my last year, I was so proud of myself, because drug prices went down for the first time in 28 years under my administration. You know how much it went down? 0.25%. And I was so proud of that. And I held a news conference, I think you'll be able to find it, congratulating myself and my administration because for the
Wow,
first time
so
in
proud of
28
themselves,
years,
guys.
drug prices went down 0.25%, that little tiny, but it still went down. And I thought it was great.
If you care
And
so
then I
much about
realized,
actually
it's a very
making drug
complicated
prices more
business
affordable
and
for
formula. You got
Americans,
to be very smart.
where's your health care plan?
I said, we're really getting ripped off by the whole world. The whole world is ripping
Why
us
did you
off.
kick nearly 20
what
million
happened is,
Americans off of
I got on
Medicare?
this kick, and I got the drug companies to agree.
So
and I
many
got
people are about to lose health insurance.
Countries to agree. And they're not agreeing because they think I'm a nice person. They're agreeing because I will put charges and costs and tariffs onto them that will be many times more than what they're going to be paying. So the companies are there and the countries are there. And we got to get it done, Bobby. We got to get it done. And we're going to have the biggest price of it. Now, that's going to lower Social Security, Medicare. This is going to lower everything because drugs go for everything. It's going to have the biggest impact, I think, of anything that can possibly be done. But your costs are going to be going down for medicine, for prescription drugs, will be going down at levels that nobody ever thought possible. And that's going to happen in a matter of a very short period of time. And we're all set with the countries, and we're all set with the companies. That's all you need, the two. And the middleman gets cut out. Under this scenario, the middleman doesn't exist anymore. That was the other thing. They always blamed the middleman. I said, who are the middlemen? Nobody knew who the middleman was. You know,
That's right.
they had the most complex formula. It was genius, but they didn't get away with it. So I'm counting on Bobby. Do you want to start, Bobby? Maybe we'll start with you. You can
Oh, I
start
can't
with
wait to
that
hear
and then
this.
go
Here
on
comes
to
RFK Jr.
what we're talking about.
We are deep into MFN negotiations, most favored nation status, negotiations with 14 companies. Howard Lutnick is a breath of fresh air, and I think he's going to help us get across the finish line with the leverage that we have from tariffs.
This is like an
They're gonna-
SNL
they're
skit. What
smart.
the hell is this?
Don't let them get away with it, Howard.
Well, the combination of Bobby's MFN and the 232 pharmaceuticals, which we launched together,
Right.
when you put those two together, it really gives Bobby the tools to go execute your plan. So I'm supporting Bobby as he executes his plan.
Good. Right?
Good job.
And this cabinet meeting is supposed to be about working Americans, bringing jobs back to this country.
Even RFK Jr. with his small amount of sanity remaining. So remember, RFK Jr. used to be a bit more normal. He used to be a major environmentalist. He used to actually have some good ideas for the country. In fact, he still seems to care about climate change and the environment. And he was asked, during the campaign, well, how do you feel about Trump's, handling of the environment and stuff? He's like, well, I don't agree with the president on that, but he's asking me to be the health guy, so I'm just going to focus on health. And Trump's like, I just want you to go crazy on health, Bobby. Don't touch environmental, but go crazy on health. And even Bobby Kennedy, with his small amount of sanity remaining, he's like, well, I thought this cabinet meeting was supposed to be about how we're going to help the working class. He's like, can we get this shit back on track? Like, I gotta get to the gym. I got some worms to put in my brain after this. Let's get this shit moving.
And particularly rural America. And I want to mention the big, beautiful bill. Right now, we spend 7% of Medicaid dollars on rural hospitals. So they're getting the short end of the stick. It's about $19 billion a year. Under the Rural Transformation Program, we give them an extra $10 billion a year. So we're raising an infusion of cash to rural hospitals and rural communities by 50%. It's going to be the biggest
That's good.
infusion in history, and it's going to restore and revitalize
That's so
these
good.
communities. And we can't survive as a nation if we don't honor our rural
Even Trump's like, I'm
communities,
tired of listening to your voice.
which
Like,
are the
that's so
source
good.
of our
Wrap it up.
values, our
Wrap it up.
virtues, our character, our economy, our food. And you are bringing that back. You are bringing those communities back. I wanted to talk, because you mentioned the wind farms, we now have an interdepartmental coalition, a team, which is Doug Burgum and Howard Lutnick and Chris Wright and Pete Hegseth. We're all working on this issue. and Lee, who are all working together on this issue. We're meeting together. There are right now 11 wind farms planned.
God, he's like struggling to get it out.
Between Maine and Virginia, it's 1,130 towers. These towers are twice the size of the Washington Monument. The blades on them
They're
are,
massive. It's so crazy.
the
Go ahead.
blades are 350 feet long, one blade. One of these blades blew up on Nantucket last summer, and the water was filled with shards of glass, of sharp glass, so it's dangerous to swim. They had to close the beaches, but they have indemnified themselves so the local communities can't sue them. None of these projects are bonded. If you build an oil derrick in the Gulf, you got to put a bond down. There's no bond for dismantling them, and that's one of the tools that Doug is now using to challenge some of these projects. None of the cost of energy.
Even Marco
from these
Rubio.
projects
Marco Rubio's
is
got his head
39
down. He's
cents a
like,
kilowatt hour.
He's like, oh my God, I can't
The
listen to
average
this.
cost in this country is 17 cents per kilowatt hour.
And natural gas
What'd
is
you say,
3
Malini?
cents.
Yeah, Bobby
Right.
needs to go feed his
So
snakes.
it is the most expensive
He does.
energy. I've been
He needs to go
representing
return
commercial
that
fishermen
bear
for
that he
40
killed.
years. They are so excited about what you're doing, Mr. President, because their fisheries are being wiped out. As soon as they begin construction, the groundfish fisheries just disappear. The fish leave the area. They've killed
Marco
160
Rubio.
whales in the
I
last
just want to
2
be president
years.
so bad. How much more of
They're
this
wiping out
do I have to sit
the whale
through
population, the
to be
Atlantic whale
president?
population, the
This
big
is-
whales, the
this is so
mankeys, the
painful.
gray
Look at him.
whale, or
I can't
the
even look at him.
humpback whales, the right whales. And you are going to save the whales on the East Coast because of this. You're going to save these economies that are based upon commercial fishing. I'll say one other thing about fishing. We are now, the South Asian nations are now dumping shrimp on our country. The shrimp is heavily contaminated. We just stopped a shipment that was contaminated with cesium-157, which is radioactive. They're farming these shrimps, and they use bactericides and antibiotics and all kinds of chemicals, and the shrimp are so contaminated that the European nations won't take them, so they're dumping them all here, and they're putting out of business. We have the most sustainable, highly regulated fishery in the world. What our fishermen do is a good thing. And all the trawlers in the Gulf and Alaska are being shut down because we're getting shrimp dumped here. So we have now increased FDA
I'm
inspections
trying,
of shrimp
folks.
to
I'm
make
trying to
sure that
understand what he's
Americans are
saying.
not
It's hard.
buying and eating contaminated shrimp and putting our shrimpers out of business. I talked just very briefly, we have an historic agreement on pre-authorization. We brought together 80% of the insurance industry, which has agreed to, for 80% of diseases and injuries, give immediate pre-authorization so that when you go to your doctor's office and he prescribes you a new knee or whatever it is, you will immediately know whether your insurance company is going to pay for it. This is an historic agreement. People have been trying to do it for decades, and we, because of your leadership, brought the insurance industry together and got them to voluntarily agree to do this. Similarly, we've made another historic agreement with personal health records. The 60 biggest tech companies in our country have all
Wow, I'm
agreed
sorry to hear that about
to
your
allow Americans for the first
rate
time
hike of energy
access to their personal data,
in
which they
Indiana.
own, which these
Everything's
companies
more
can
expensive under
monetize
this
without
administration,
permission.
folks.
You're going to be able to see by next year all of your health records on your cell phone. It's going to save lives. It is going to fuel an infusion of technology into that space where people can access those records. They can compare their diet to what they personally need, and we'll have personalized medicine. We are doing
you say one more
price
thing, Bobby? Why are
transparency.
you
You
still-
passed this during your
We're
first
still
term.
yapping.
And then the Biden administration refused to enforce it. We've now brought at HHS, under your leadership and my leadership, more enforcement actions than during the entire 4 years of the Biden administration.
Right.
So we're going to have that kind of price transparency. I'm working with Linda on
Trump is
forcing
literally
medical
like
schools. And the MCAS, the
passing
people who
away
administer the
as he's
MCAS, the
talking.
people who do
Like minutes
accreditations,
of Trump's life are
put
ticking away.
nutrition into
Bobby, he's
medical
only got
school
so much
education.
time left, man.
Right now, 25%
Trump is literally
of the
running on a
doctors in this
time
country
clock.
do not feel
They're
confident
barely keeping this guy
to give
alive.
nutritional
Like,
advice.
get to the point.
70% of diabetes cases
Trump's life
can
is
be
ticking.
reversed or ended if you just change people's diets, and the doctors don't know how to advise it. They only know how to prescribe the drugs. We're going to change that, so if you come out of a medical school under the Trump administration, you are going to know about diet. And then finally, most importantly, the Pete and Bobby Challenge. I want to give an update. I got 5 minutes and 48. It's 100 push-ups, 50 pull-ups, and you try to do it within 10 minutes. I got 5 minutes and 48 seconds. Pete beat me. I'm still bitter at that. 5 minutes and 25. The cabinet leader is Scott Turner.
Wow.
You beat me, Bill.
Good job, man.
That's
You
good.
got 5 minutes and 15
I'd like to see your
seconds.
real
I'm waiting
push-ups,
for
by the way,
reports from
Bobby.
the rest of the cabinet. The only exemptions currently existing is if you can hit a 50 at Bedminster, which President Trump did with Bryson DeChambeau, so he's the only one exempt in this room. Everybody else.
That's great, Bobby. Bobby, autism, if I could, I don't want to go too long because we have a lot of people, but the autism is such a tremendous horror show, what's happening in our country and some other countries, but mostly our country. How are you doing on that?
We are doing very well. We will have announcements as promised in September. We're finding certain interventions now that are clearly, almost certainly causing autism. And we're going to be
Like
able to address
vaccines,
those in
folks.
September.
Vaccines cause autism.
It's such a big day.
It's true.
Looking forward
Not.
to that day because there's something wrong when you see the kind of numbers that you have today versus 20 years ago. And those numbers, what are those numbers, Bob?
In 1970, the biggest epidemiological study in history was done in Wisconsin. They looked at 900,000 children and they were looking for autism. They knew what it looked like. And they were very, very precise about it, and they found an incident rate of 0.7, in other words, less than 1 per every 10,000 children. Today, our most recent numbers are 1 in every 31 kids. It's probably actually much worse than that because California, which has the best collection system, is reporting 1 out of every 19 children, American children, as autism, 1 in every 12.5.
Did Bobby just admit that California is the best at something? He just said California, which has the best collection system. Like, even this administration can't even hide the fact that California is responsible for so much innovation, so much science, so much education, and yet they are constantly lambasting California. They're constantly threatening to defund California. It's like, dude, they're literally keeping the lights on.
Boys. So it's gone from less than 1 in 10,000 in 1970 to 1 in 12.5 boys.
Think of
today.
those numbers.
Maybe from now on, if you're gonna like go after California, California's gonna stop giving you the data that you're referencing right here.
So there has to be something artificially causing this, meaning a drug or something. And I know you're looking very strongly at different things, and I hope you can come out with that as soon as possible.
We will.
So 1 in 10,000, and now it's 1 in 31 or 34 or 12 if it's a boy. Can you imagine that? 1 in 12. That's for a boy.
1 in every 12.5 boys.
It's not even believable that could be. And that was 1 in 10,000 not so long ago. I've been hearing these numbers, and they get worse and worse every year. There's got to be something. I think there's nothing, including favored nations and everything else, there's nothing that can be, if you can find out the reason that that's happening, and I know we're gonna do some things.
They're
I
gonna
think
make
it's-
up some
I
fake
think-
reason.
I think we maybe know the reason, and I look forward to that press conference, to be with you on that press conference. That's going to be a great
They're saying
thing.
it's
Thank you, Bob.
vaccines.
You're doing a great job. Linda, how about it? And we want nothing less than $500 million from Harvard. Don't negotiate, Linda. They've been very bad. Don't negotiate. Go ahead.
All that's working well. Mr. President, thank you very much. Since we are focusing today on Labor Day, and I know that Kelly and Lori are both going to echo some of the things that I'll say as well, we are really focusing, on our workforce. But what I'm finding with great joy around the country is that states really are being innovative and working more with middle schools and with high schools to make sure that we are having hands-on learning, their pathways to jobs that are happening now. And if we see more and more of our community
This
colleges
woman
working
doesn't
with
even know
our
about AI.
middle schools and our
She's
high
like
schools, so the
A1.
high school students are graduating.
How are you going to be
not only with a
the head of
diploma,
the
but a
Department of
certificate,
Education and you don't even
that
understand
they
what the
have worked
future
with,
looks like?
perhaps with a Toyota
This
or
entire
another,
administration is
company that is
filled
coming
with
in,
backwards
public-private
fossil heads.
partnerships. And they're learning on the job so that when they graduate from high school, they're ready to go into the workforce. Because we know with all of these wonderful jobs that are coming back into the country, through AI, through just our normal jobs, we need electricians, HVAC operators, etc. If we don't have this training, we're not going to have the workforce we need for all these wonderful jobs. So governors are really excited about this prospect. I've been now to several states and visited community colleges and tech schools with governors, and they're just all on board for getting this done. I think it's one of the best things that we're hearing relative to the job
They go
market.
for a
So
while, huh?
we're just kind of focusing on that for today.
So we're bringing education back to the states, to put it in a more simple fashion. We're going to let the states educate our children again. And, you know, we're rated out of 40 countries, we're 38, 39, or 40. So obviously, it's not working what they've been doing for the last 30, 40 years. And if you go back, the best are like Norway, Denmark, Sweden, some of the other, Finland, they're very highly rated. If you go back to just take a look at anything you want to do,
Mostly
you just
socialist
look at
countries,
us
by the
in
way.
past. If we gave
got great
Iowa
education.
or gave Indiana or gave, and I don't say every one of them, you know, a guy like Gavin Newsom's not going to do well. Certain states won't do well. But even California, you cut it up into sections. You have Riverside, you have this, you have that. You cut it into 5 sections. And, you know, if you had a good governor, you'd be able to do well. But certain states will be able to compete with Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and everyone. It'll be just as good.
Dude, you cannot go after California on education. California has the best education in the nation. We should be talking about places like Alabama and Arkansas. How about Oklahoma? Worst in the nation. Okay? And you want to talk about California's education problems? Seriously? I wouldn't pick that fight if I were you. I would not do it. Your health secretary guy, Bobby, literally just referenced California as being the best at collecting data.
So
What the hell are
I
we
figure
talking
you
about?
have close to 40 of those states. And then you'll have 10, you'll have 5 that won't be very good. You have 5 disasters, and we'll have to work on those disasters. But for the most part, we will have education that will go zooming up in those charts, just like we have in everything else we've done. And I think it's one of the most important things we're doing at this table. So bringing education back to the states where you have the parents running it, where you have the school boards, they're local. We have people running from Washington that have never even been to the state that they're in charge of. They've never even been there, and I don't think they care about it. So we want to close up the Washington buildings, sell the buildings off, let somebody else get rich with the real estate, because it'll be a crime-free city. By the way, speaking of that, anybody murders something in the Capitol, capital punishment, capital punishment. If somebody kills somebody in the Capitol, Washington, D.C., we're going to be seeking the death penalty. And that's a very strong preventative. And everybody that's heard it agrees with it. I don't know if we're ready for it.
He says he wants to have the death penalty in DC. If you commit murder in DC, you should be killed. That's what he's saying. I'll let you decide what you think about that.
In this country. But where you have it, it is, we have no choice. So in DC and Washington, states are going to have to make their own decision. But if somebody kills somebody, like you could have been killed, very lucky you didn't get killed, it's the death penalty, okay? Fantastic job you're doing. Thank you, Linda. Very much appreciated. How are you doing with the colleges, by the way? You're doing some pretty good work in terms of getting them to treat people fairly.
Well, interestingly enough, since we've been negotiating with some of the Ivy League schools, I have presidents of universities calling every single week. They want to sit down and talk to us about all of the
Sure.
steps that they are taking, because they would like to not come under the same investigative, program, and so it is having its desired
They would like to
effect.
bend the
great.
knee to
If you fire
fascism
shot across the
before
bound, the big
Trump's
guys,
boot comes in
kind
for
of
people to
step in
lick.
line and know you mean business, and we have teeth in these agreements, and I'm proud of the work that we're doing there.
Well, they misbehaved, and some of these schools are getting billions and billions of dollars, and they misbehave. So that's it. And so one way or the other, we're going to win that whole thing. It's going to straighten them out. Okay. Thank you. Great job.
Thank you.
Lee, please.
Mr. President, the Trump EPA
Oh, the
has
environmental
a special
guy.
Labor Day message to America's workforce, especially our auto workers, our coal miners, our steam fitters, our pipe fitters, and the list goes on. See,
I love how the
what a
camera,
difference a
like
year
the
makes.
camera doesn't even pan
A year
over
ago,
to
the way
some of
that
these
the
people because they're
Environmental
like,
Protection Agency was
Lee
operating,
Zeldin's so irrelevant and we'll get better ratings if we just keep it on Trump. It's like, people don't even know who's talking
we would
right
have to
now.
Strangulate the economy. That's the way that the EPA operated
Well,
for
I'll let
years.
you know. The guy who's talking right now,
There's
his
a
name's
binary
Lee
choice.
Zeldin.
We can
He's
choose
the
one or the other.
environmental guy,
EPA
even though his
completely
job
rejects-
is to help Trump destroy
We
the
choose to
environment.
protect the environment
So much
and
for
grow the
America
economy.
first. Let's just chop
And
down all
a
our
very
trees,
special shout out
burn
to
oil,
Russ Vogt at,
infect our
and his
workers with
team at the Office of
carcinogens.
Management and Budget.
America
We
first,
give him
though.
A lot of work. He's happy to do it. Dozens of different deregulatory actions. We just announced a proposed rescission of the 2009 Obama EPA endangerment finding. All of the light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicle regulations that followed. It is the single largest deregulatory action in the history of the United States government. And when you add up the dozens of different actions that we have announced and that we're working through, in one agency in 1 year, we'll do more deregulation than entire federal governments have done across all agencies, across entire presidencies. And what we are accomplishing would not be possible if not for the support of the rest of this team you've assembled around this table. The well-oiled, well-wired machine at the White House, led by Susie Wiles, and the DCOSP, the policy shop, led by Stephen Miller, they have been amazing to work with. I was just in Iowa with Administrator Loeffler, who made an announcement with Secretary Rollins to reverse the deratement on diesel exhaust fluid systems. Mr. President, you said you wanted water flowing faster. Working with the Secretary of Energy, we've done our part to do that, to get gas cans flowing faster, to stop that annoying start-stop feature in vehicles. See, people out there might say, well, why are you focused on all of these little things? If it's little to you, it doesn't mean that it's not a very big deal for millions of other Americans. The charge was clear when you called me in November and you asked me to do this job. Clean air, land, and water for all Americans. Unleash energy dominance. Advance cooperative federalism, permitting reform, make America the AI capital of the world, bring back American auto jobs. What we are accomplishing now, again, wouldn't be possible if not for your leadership. I'm grateful to the American people for electing you and our amazing vice president. I was just in Mexico City announcing and signing on behalf of the Trump administration an agreement with Mexico for a permanent solution for the Tijuana River sewage crisis, which you have been so outspoken and passionate about in our conversations. It would not be possible if not for Secretary Rubio, Deputy Secretary Landau, U.S. Ambassador to Mexico Johnson. The team at the State Department has been incredible. The work with the NEDC on permitting, to be able to get new pipelines built, to get new factories started. The list, it's amazing. You know, somebody out there might not realize the relationship between the Environmental Protection Agency and the Department of Defense. The amount of
The Department of
work
Defense?
with,
Don't you mean the
Secretary
Department of War?
Hegseth and the Army Corps, from
It's actually called the
responding
Department
to
of
LA
War.
wildfires,
Donald Trump is about to rename
getting
it.
more water flowing in California, which is also something that Secretary Burgum is involved with, to helping the farmers, the ranchers and landowners to revise the waters of the United States definition so they don't have to go hire an attorney or a consultant to tell them whether or not a water on their property is subject to federal regulation. Thank you for putting this entire team together. It's an honor to be at the Trump EPA where we choose
Thank
to
you,
both
Supreme
protect the
Ruler
environment
Trump.
and grow the economy. It's a very happy Labor Day for America's workforce.
And Lee, in Los Angeles, if you could, because of the fires, Lee was there, and as you know, we are very strict having to do with the rebuilding of those houses. And Lee was able to get the approvals done for everybody immediately. It was so fast, nobody could believe it. And the mayor and the governor still haven't gotten them their approvals. And
Look, I understand Trump thinks that he's helping people rebuild their houses immediately, but you have to understand they are trying to get rid of toxic waste in these sites where people's houses are burned down. The ground is polluted. There's fire waste everywhere. They're trying to get rid of these waste objects that are going to give people cancer, that are going to make people unsafe, unhealthy. And then they need to make sure that they build these houses in a way that they are more fire resistant so that this thing doesn't happen again. But of course, Donald Trump, the sleazy car salesman that he is, he just wants the quickest and cheapest deal done. He wants it to be done immediately. He doesn't care if they burn down again in 10 years. He won't be alive. He won't be president. So what difference does it make if there's a problem later on? He just wants to take credit for it right now.
they're going to have riots out there for that reason. These are great homeowners. They want to build a house. They can't get approved because you have the mayor, Bass, who has no idea what she's doing. And you have a governor who is just such a bad governor. And the people are unable to build a house. The toughest permit to get was the federal permit by far. And yet he got them all in a short period.
Yeah, Captain, who you've been pushing misinformation in my chat this whole time, by the way. Toxic waste, brother. Everything in LA burned to the ground. The soil underneath the houses is filled with carcinogens, and right now there's no foundation. It's taken a long time to simply clear out all of the sludge, all of the burnt material that you can inhale, that, you know, you're not going to build a house on top of a fire destroyed area. You have to first clear out the area. You have to do new foundation. By the way, everything needs to be retrofitted. You have to make sure that an earthquake isn't going to take your house down. There are some houses that were remaining. You have to make sure that you're building the house in a way that is going to be better equipped to handle these fires. So if you don't know what you're talking about, just admit it, because clearly you don't.
The time after the fire, how long did it take?
Well, Mr. President, you came in, signed an executive order, and told the EPA that we had less than 30 days to complete our hazardous material removal, which the initial response, once all of our heart rates went down a bit, was just to figure out how to get it done. We got it done in just less than 30 days. The Army Corps of Engineers then comes in for the debris removal. The federal government, in clearing over 13,000 properties that were destroyed because of these wildfires. We've got to the point today where property owners all across Los Angeles, they're grateful to the Trump administration. They're happy that we did our part, but they are desperate to rebuild. And there is not a single green light approval that they are waiting for from the Environmental Protection Agency. The EPA and the Army Corps of Engineers proudly have done our work. It's important for those local officials to let these property owners build on their land. It's their property. It doesn't belong to the mayor of Los Angeles. And they need to represent their people better. They're ready to build.
When will they have their permits from Los Angeles?
Well, here's the problem, Mr. President, is that...
Dude, you have no idea what you're talking about. Ash isn't toxic. We're talking about burnt metal. We're talking about things that should not be lit on fire and then inhaled by humans. Okay? But go ahead. I would like you to light your house on fire and then tell me it's safe to just quickly build a house and start living there.
They have been ready since the moment we were done with the federal part. I mean, I was visiting a week after. Actually, I thought my first trip was going to be to Los Angeles. However, the moment I got confirmed, the vice president said, "You're going to East Palestine right away." So that actually ended up being the first visit because the vice president's so passionate about that from the great state of Ohio. Then we went to Los Angeles from there. We're talking about the beginning of February, where we were meeting with property owners already. They were already all set up. They had the contractors. It was the beginning of February, and they were waiting for green lights from Los Angeles to be able to go onto their property and start rebuilding. Some of the same people who were waiting for a green light ready with the contractors at the beginning of February are still waiting now in the middle of August. Let these Californians rebuild.
And they're talking about also taking away some of the properties and building low-income housing on those properties, they're going to have problems like they've never had before. These people don't know what they're doing. So we have all our permit, everything the federal government has to do was done long ago. They should have been, I went to a town hall with Lee, but we were there and the mayor was saying it would take 2 years, maybe 3 years to get this approved. I said, no, not 2 years, 2 days. They should have it in 2 days. And I toured the site and I met 100 homeowners, all standing in front of this site a couple of days after the fire, and they were ready to go right then. They wanted to just build right then. And the city won't let them do it. Los Angeles, I don't think it's that they won't. I think they're incompetent, okay, to be honest with you. I think they just don't know how to go about it. It is so badly run by Newsom and by Mayor Bass. Mayor Bass, she was in Africa during the fire. She knew the fire was starting to rage, and she decided to take a trip to Africa.
The audacity of saying something like that when, first of all, she was in Africa before the fires happened and then immediately left and came back. Second of all, it's not unheard of for mayors to do trips overseas, especially when you're the mayor of the second biggest, potentially even the biggest city in the country. Because when you're the mayor of LA, you're the mayor of so many different neighborhoods. But then, most importantly, the audacity of saying something like this, and then you've got a guy like Ted Cruz, who was literally in Cancun while Texas was frozen. And if that's not enough, during the floods that just destroyed Texas and took so many lives, where was Ted Cruz? Oh, he was in Athens, Greece, checking out the Parthenon. Even though the floods were forecasted, brother. Floods were on the weather report, but you defunded that as well.
These people are they're just bad. You know, you talk about make America great again. They could never make America great again, but we are doing that. Congratulations, you found some interesting things, Tulsi. She's becoming a bigger and bigger star every day. She found a lot of good things. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. As we approach Labor Day weekend here, this is just such a great opportunity really to recognize your leadership as a true champion for working people. And I know we'll hear, as we go around the table here, how your focus singularly on putting the well-being and interests of the American people first is that common thread that we're seeing in your policies being implemented.
Who's speaking right now?
Across your administration.
Oh God, Tulsi Gabbard.
For Odie and I, number one, our focus is and
oh my
must
goodness,
always
wasn't this
be
the person who
making
said
sure
that
our
Iran
intelligence
was not building a
community
nuclear
is
weapon?
focused on our mission,
And then
keeping
Trump
the
said that
American
she's
people
wrong,
safe, secure,
and then we bombed
and
Iran.
free. We're doing great work on this.
She literally
front. I'll
said,
point
remember,
out
she
our
was
National
like,
Counterterrorism Center
Iran
led
is
by
not
Director
close to a
Joe
nuclear
Kent.
weapon. And then
Our
Trump was
work
asked,
across
well, your own
different
director of
agencies,
national
Homeland
intelligence said
Security,
Iran's not
DEA,
close. And he's like,
FBI,
well,
and
she's
others.
wrong. She's wrong.
terrorists,
And then Tulsi Gabbard's
or
like,
those who are
well,
trying to come
you
into
took
our
my stuff out of
country, those who may
context.
already
Mr.
be in
President's
our
right.
country. They
She
are
was definitely
finding
told
the
to say
worst
that.
of the cartel bosses and making sure that they're not able to continue to wreak havoc and terror in our communities. Secondly, Mr.
You're such a grifter, Tulsi. You tricked everybody into thinking that you were actually anti-war, that you were actually for the working class. You were a Democrat. And then you switched sides once you realized that you could get a nice cushy seat in Donald Trump's cabinet of Epstein, pedophiles, and fools.
Transparency, telling the truth is what will drive the American people who deserve.
I'm going to let people know on Instagram as well that I am live on YouTube because of the whole TikTok ban that just happened. Let me let them know real quick. Folks, I'm live on YouTube right now. My TikTok was just... Oh, let me redo that. My TikTok was just banned from going live because of misinformation. You heard that right. I'm literally reacting to Trump's cabinet meeting, trying to combat misinformation, and I get dinged for misinformation. So if you're seeing this now, come watch on YouTube because we are still live there. Fortunately, YouTube is a place where you can still tell the truth. Come watch on YouTube. I hope to see you there. Oh, shit. No! Where were we? Hang on, let me fix that. Let me fix that. I just lost our spot. Where were we? Where's Tulsi? I want to make sure we get back to Miss Gabbard. Here we go.
Finding documents literally tucked away in the back of safes in random offices in these bags and in other areas, which again speaks to the intent of those who are trying to hide the truth from the American people and trying to cover up the politicization that was led by people like John Brennan and James Clapper and others that have caused really immeasurable harm to the American people and to our country.
Great job. Thank you. We look forward to hearing it. The public looks forward. Thank you very much. Administrator?
Thank you, Mr. President. Well, everyone knows there's no stronger advocate for hardworking American families than you, sir. Thank you for the largest
Oh my
tax
God,
cut
what is
in
with the
American
North Korea
history
ass
for
kissing
working
every day?
families.
It's
The
like
average family of four
nobody
is gonna
knows
save
that there's a
about
better president than you, Mr.
$10,000.
President. Thank you, sir.
Pay
Thank you,
more
sir.
a
Please give me
year.
that promotion,
And what we're
sir.
seeing is an increase in the child tax credit, the increase in the standard deduction. Hardworking families are going to benefit from this bill, and small businesses. There's no bigger beneficiary than Main Street, because small business makes up 99% of all businesses in this country. I've traveled to nearly half of our states, 24 unique states. I've made 40 state visits. In fact, I was with our great vice president at a small business manufacturer in Georgia last week. I was with a trucking company in Ohio. I was in Michigan at a motorcycle manufacturer. The return of Made in America is going to be driven by small businesses, because 98% of all of our manufacturers in America are small and medium businesses, 600,000 factories that employ 5 million people. And as Secretary McMahon mentioned, this work-based learning that is going on in professional and trade schools is real. I've visited them from Utah to Maine to Georgia and seen this revolution in education happening. So small businesses need skilled labor. Now that you solve for inflation, for the taxes, every Democrat voted for a $4 trillion tax increase on the backs of hardworking Americans.
Not true.
And so you prevented that. And now we've got fair trade. And thanks to Administrator Zeldin, we're seeing deregulation. I mean, this diesel
By the way,
exhaust
please
fluid
smash the like
crushed
button. If
farmers
you're on
in
YouTube, just click
construction
like.
and other
It
heavy
really helps
industry.
me
So
a
rolling
lot
that back makes
because
a
it
real
helps
difference for
amplify
small
the
business.
message of the video.
And
So
your
just click
domestic
like.
economic
Thank you.
agenda is amplified through small businesses, which is why small business optimism is above its 53-year
And copy and paste
average,
this link
finally.
and send it to one
So Main
friend. I
Street
want to make sure
appreciates
people
it,
know about
but
this
what
channel.
Main Street wants now is a rate cut. They feel burdened by high interest rates. They would grow, hire, and expand more if they could, but the interest rates are really hurting them. And finally, I want to say thank you for your
The way this
executive order on
entire
debanking.
cabinet just
We're about
skews
to
facts
announce
is so
a
unbelievable.
major
They
investigation on debanking.
they
It
continue
happened
to
to
slip
you and
up
your
too, because
family.
there's no way
It
they're all
happened to
so
me.
coordinated
It
on
happened to
lying.
thousands and thousands of Americans, and unfortunately disproportionately on those that had conservative values, on Christians, on pro-life, on 2A
Remember that part that
businesses. And so we're gonna
Trump was hitting on Pam Bondi earlier? He's like, I say she get beautiful, but I get canceled. No wonder he has her like sit directly across from him so he can like stare at her the whole time, like the fucking creep that he is. What a creepy bastard.
Great job. You're doing a great job. Thank you very much. Christy?
Well, Mr. President, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to work for you. And you committed when you ran for president.
Does he tell them beforehand? He's like, when each person speaks, you are not allowed to report on anything until you thank me. And it can't just be thanks, Mr. President. It has to be thank you so much for blah, blah, blah. You have to give 3 sentences about why you're thanking me, and then you can talk.
To make America safe again. And today, the average family and individual that lives in this country is safer than they've been in years.
Great
because of
camera
what you've
angle,
done.
AP. We can't
We've
even
got
see her.
3 months in a row now with 0 illegal aliens coming into this country. And I want to thank Pete and the Department
like,
of
yeah,
Defense
go
for
back
all
to
of their
Trump.
help. They're down
we
at
can't
the
see
border
her.
with us still, helping us keep that border secure and make sure we know who's coming into this country. You've arrested
This is the worst
and
cabinet in
brought to
American history
justice
by
hundreds
far.
of thousands of
It's not even close.
illegal aliens, but criminals that have perpetuated violence against American people. Sir, you've had 1.6 million people voluntarily go home to their home countries that were here in this country illegally because of your strong message and you enforcing the law.
Okay, 2 things. One, that might be a fake number because, again, everything this administration releases, don't trust it. Second of all, I would voluntarily leave this country. Like, if I was in question about my legal status here, Why would you want to live in this country right now where it's unsafe, where things are expensive, and you're paying taxes into a system where you can't even reap the benefits from it because you're undocumented? Why would you continue giving your life to this system when you could go back to a country where you're probably going to be treated better than you're treated here? You could voluntarily go back versus have the threat of just being kidnapped and thrown into a prison for the rest of your life because you're not going to have any due process. You're never going to see trial. So yeah, no shit, people are trying to get out of here. They want to get the hell out of here. This place is not America anymore.
They decided to go home on their own so that they could come back the right way someday and be American citizens. But what I think is one of the most remarkable statistics is that under Joe Biden's administration, 88%.
Hey, Darren, I appreciate it. And I understand. I know this is hard to listen to because it's so toxic and there's so much, nonsense coming out of this administration. Don't worry. We are going to talk about some good stuff as well. After this, I'm going to highlight J.B. Pritzker, the governor of Illinois, standing up to the Trump administration. That's coming up shortly. So stay tuned. Even if you go away, you can come back for that. That'll happen in a little bit. And I will be posting recaps of some of the topics we discussed today. So you'll see videos posted on my channel. If you ever miss a live, folks, right now I don't have a specific schedule, so I don't really know what time I'll go live on certain days. But if you ever miss an episode, I usually take a highlight of the episode, like maybe 10, 20 minutes, and I post it on YouTube as a video. So you can watch the video after the fact. You can watch it, the next day. You can watch it on your drive to work. I'm not saying watch it while you drive, but you can listen to it because it's mostly just audio based. So you can listen to it like a podcast. So that's why it's important to click the subscribe button so you never miss a video.
Taxpayers weren't focused on our mission of keeping us safe.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you for being here.
We've also renegotiated and brought in our biggest vendors that said you have to do better. And we've saved the taxpayers over $13 billion doing that as well. So we're continuing to be accountable to taxpayer dollars, but sort of focused on doing the mission of what you've committed, and that's to keep us safe and to make sure we put Americans first.
Well, great job, and great job on the border. We had millions and millions of people coming.
Great job on the border.
3 months in a row, 0.
Incredible.
That's some job.
Relax,
Thank
guy.
Tom and everybody. Pete, good job.
Hope there's a new South
you very
Park this
much.
week. You just tap him
Chris,
on the legs.
please.
He's like, get your sick, infected hand off of me.
Sorry about that, Mr. President. Like Secretary Noam, I'm thrilled to be here to work with you on the simple platform you were elected
I'm gonna skip
on,
ahead a bit.
which
I'm
was
not even
to
sure who's talking right now.
America again, and those people of all the to build their factories bigger, to build power plants
Great.
in America.
Who's this?
And labor together, and I was so honored to unveil
No, we're not
that.
listening to her. Let's listen to Pam Bondi.
Since we all can, throughout the,
Oh yeah,
I
here we
have
go.
been a Republican, working with
Here we go. Pam
everyone
Bondi.
around this
Pam
table
Bondi, ladies and
almost
gentlemen.
daily on legal issues
Trump
that
thinks
we're
is beautiful.
winning on. But today,
him
because it's
smiling.
Labor Day, President Trump, if I could focus on public safety, not only domestic, but from our foreign adversaries. And Secretary McMahon, I know you know, kids are out of school this weekend. It's Labor Day. And Secretary Duffy, you know, our highways are going to be packed with travelers coming to not only our nation's capital, but all over this country. We're also going to have boaters, Secretary Duffy, right, on our waterways. It is illegal to be under the influence and on a boat. So get a designated boater if you're out on our waterways, whether it's the Potomac or the Gulf of America or the Pacific. Wherever you're out this weekend, people need to be safe. And on an international level, Secretary Rubio, thank you for all your help on
Darren,
everything.
I understand.
And everyone
I
around
know
this
people
room.
have lost respect
But
for our country
yesterday, there
because
was a
of this.
big win.
But what I'm trying to do is
El
show that
Mayo
there are
pled
still
guilty,
people in this country that are
and
fighting.
he was the co-founder
There are still
of
people in this
Sinaloa
country that want our
Cartel
country
with
to
El
be
Chapo.
respected.
And there's even a Narcos Netflix series about these guys. Well, now we know the ending. He's going to die in an American prison. They are one of the worst, El Chapo and El Mayo, some of the worst narco traffickers in our world. And he will spend life in prison now. And that's so important because those guys and others throughout this country, throughout this world, have brought into our country drugs, cocaine, heroin, fentanyl, methamphetamines.
Drugs,
It's killing
cocaine.
our kids. And we
What?
have to stop that. And that's what you've
They're
been
just
doing
like saying
not only in
buzzwords
DC,
now.
but around the country at your leadership. And over the weekend, parents need to know, with kids out of school, with people out on our highways and on our waters, Do not take a pill from anyone you know, don't know. Do not buy anything on the street. It could be laced with something toxic. We've seen so many fentanyl overdoses. And when you were here
tell
in
us that the
DC, we
country's
showed
so
you
safe,
pictures
and
of
yet
some
you
of the
say that
drugs
people
that
are
have been
overdosing on
seized right here
fentanyl.
in
So which one is
DC.
it?
President, they were packaged for
Why are you
children.
scaring people like this?
Packaged for children. And people are dying from these around our country. So thank you, President Trump, for your leadership and for letting Americans know that it's now a safe place to go. But parents also have to know, college kids have to know, to be vigilant and not take this trash. Because you could be thinking you're taking a Xanax, an Adderall, anything, and it could be laced with something very lethal.
So
thank
don't
you,
take the
President.
drugs that you're prescribed.
Thank you,
What if you're an Adderall user? Like, what if you need Adderall?
The job you and your
Great
whole group
messaging,
is,
though. Way to make everybody
everyone's
feel
talking
safe
about it
and
all over the
comforted.
world. I hate to have to talk about that, but we have to. It's becoming a very safe place again, and the work I've seen how hard you worked the last, well, from the beginning, in all fairness. But this focus on DC is so important for the country. So great job, and to everybody.
And
Great job.
President, it's a team around. We're all working hand in hand, side by side, all of our agencies together to make America safe and DC safe. And Iris, congratulations on your baby, and I'm so glad that you're safe now.
Thank you.
What?
Thank you, Pam, very much. Great. Mr. VP, would you like to say something?
Yes, sir.
VP.
I'll be brief, but I want to congratulate you and the entire team on all the things that have been accomplished. You'll hear about a lot of it. You've already heard some of it, but I thought it would be helpful, Mr. President, just to take stock, not just of what we've accomplished, what we will accomplish, but of the mess that we inherited, because I think it makes this first Labor Day a bigger and more special occasion. You heard, I think, Christie talk about this, that all of the net
They're
job
still
growth
blaming
under the
Biden for
Biden
stuff?
administration had gone to the foreign-born. Now that net job growth is going to American citizens who deserve opportunity in their own country. That's a great accomplishment. You'll hear, I'm sure, Scott talk about the success with tariffs. People forget that we inherited the largest peacetime deficit in the history of the United States of America. And now, because the president is not letting foreign countries take advantage of us, we're collecting hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars over 10 years in tariffs from countries and companies that were formerly taking
Trump
advantage
is smiling. He's
of
like,
the American
my
people.
little Padawan,
Heard
like,
Pam
soon
talk about
you
the
will
public
become
safety and the
the
success
president
that we've had
and the
there.
head
I happen
of Project
to believe that maybe the most
2025,
sacred thing
which
that
will
we can
become
deliver
Project
to American
2028,
workers is the ability
which will
to live
become
safely
full
and
fascism.
comfortably in their own neighborhoods. Public safety is not just something that should belong to the wealthy. It should belong to every working man and woman in the United States of America. And because of the work of this administration, that is happening. And of course, Mr. President, you yourself talked about the inflation mess that we inherited under the Biden administration. Maybe the most striking and even shocking statistic of the Biden administration is that housing costs have gone up by 100% over the 4 years of the Biden administration, literally doubled, making the American dream of homeownership unaffordable. We've made great strides and great progress already. But to the American people who are listening, there's a lot more to do. We're going to keep on working hard at it, but it's an honor to do this job under the president's leadership and with this very great team that you've assembled. So we've done a lot, but there's a lot more work to do, and we're very cognizant of it. Thank you, sir.
Great job. Thank you, Gigi.
Thank you,
Scott?
Gigi.
Sir, as we've said very often, economic security is national security, and our country has never been so secure thanks to you. You
This
have
guy's the
brought
worst,
us
too.
back from the edge. You have the
He's
overwhelming
the guy who goes
mandate,
on the news and lies about the economy.
from the American people. You're restoring confidence in government, a topic that is on the front of everyone's mind, the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve's independence comes from a political arrangement between itself and the American public. Having the public's trust is the only thing that gives it credibility, and you, sir, are restoring trust to government. You are
It's you, sir.
weeding out the waste, fraud, and abuse, and the old
You hear the way
ways
his
of doing
voice is
things are
quivering.
not good enough.
Again, I said this yesterday.
We are seeing
It's
a
like,
blue-collar boom.
you've watched Star
In the
Wars.
first 7 months of
In
your
Star Wars,
administration,
when Darth
the
Vader's
blue-collar
speaking,
workers, have
all
taken
his
off.
servants are like so scared, and
only
if somebody
other
has to
time
like
that they've done
report
this
bad
in the
news
past
to him,
70 years
they're like,
was in
Lord
the
Vader,
media.
sir, like the rebels are
efforts
approaching,
on
and he
tax,
like
trade,
chokes them or
and
kills them.
deregulation
That's how
have
these people
paychecks
treat
for
Trump. They're like,
American workers,
Mr.
while
President,
slowing
like,
the pace of
you're doing
inflation
such a
and
great
lowering
job,
cost
sure,
of
and everything's
living.
perfect. And
Inflation
that
has
bad stuff, well, that was
plummeted
just
to
Joe Biden and
1.9%
illegals.
since
It wasn't
he took
us, sir.
office, and the economy
And look at him, he's like
rebounded,
eating it
with
up.
Real GDP surging
He's so happy,
3%
look at him.
last quarter.
So
the
happy.
blue collar boom coincides with a CapEx comeback. In anticipation of your one big beautiful bill,
All right, let's skip ahead this
becoming
nonsense.
law, CapEx increase.
In May, we said, listen, it's a safety issue if you can't proficiently speak the English language.
Oh,
and we
great.
gave states a little over a month to comply.
Okay, let's just get to
Washington,
Pete
California,
XF,
and New
that should be
Mexico.
plenty.
And I just want to say thank you. I'm having the time of my life working for you, Mr. President.
The time of my life.
Yeah, that was very well stated, wasn't it? Some things people don't think of too much. Thank you very much. Great job.
Great
Pete?
job.
Sir, well, amen to what Howard said. And I would just say, heading into Labor Day from the American military, sir, we happen to be the largest employer in America. We like to think we have a different form of employees who need to be the toughest and the strongest and the most well-trained and the most lethal. And under the previous administration, and for decades, frankly, it was social justice, it was political correctness, it was divisive ideologies seeping into the ranks and changing how well we do our job. No more. Now it is only merit-based, gender-neutral, colorblind. The best of the best from the top to the bottom. That's our expectation. And sir, you've enabled that. So from the troops directly, which they ask me to say all the time, thank you for your leadership, for your boldness, for your clarity, for common sense, for providing a shield for the rest of us to put America first and to apply peace through strength. We're in the strength business. That's our job, is to stand behind everybody here and alongside John in everything they do to keep the country safe. And the world is noticing. And I wish
It's so
everybody
inspiring, man.
There were 2 meetings
We're
yesterday
gonna go to
that I
war.
think tell the story.
I'm so happy.
One was, because today happens to be the 4-year anniversary of what happened at Abbey Gate in Afghanistan.
We won't be able to afford
Mr.
houses,
President, you
but
had families who
we
you've met
will
with multiple
go to
times,
war.
Who, when the cameras were on and not on,
Really good, great American
It's
patriots
crazy how
in
this is
there,
still
and
going.
you won't have any problems.
I've been
Don't
watching
forget,
this since 10
It's
a.m.
loaded up with some stone cold killers, some really bad people, some people that were just
All right, frankly, that's
born to
enough
be
of that.
bad. They're
Let's shift into some good news. I do want to show Governor Pritzker here, and let me tee this up too, because I'm going to record this one and post this as a recap video. Oop, apologies for that. Make sure nobody can see my secrets. Right now I'm on the road, so you don't get my full setup. But I'm going to start recording here. I'm going to wait a sec, make sure everyone can see this. Make sure everyone's still tuned in across the world. How's everybody doing? Let me take this moment to say thank you for being here. We're going to do one more segment here. We'll go for another half hour, probably finish around 1 Pacific. That would be 4 p.m. Eastern. So thank you for being here. If you missed anything, you can always rewind. This entire live is going to be uploaded afterwards, so you'll be able to watch the whole thing if you want. But I'll be posting recap videos as well. We'll post a recap video of what we're going to show now. The other thing, folks, I want to say is if you want to support the channel, I am an independent content creator, an independent political commentator. The best thing you can do is like this video by clicking the thumbs up button. Subscribe to my channel so you never miss a video. Share this video with one person so that one more person can be informed. And if you want to support me directly, I have no sponsorships, no funding, etc. You can do so via Buy Me a Coffee or Venmo. They're both linked in the description. $1, $5. I personally thank each person that contributes. So if you ever want to get in touch with me as well, that's a great way to do so. That way I can send you a note back, and it's really amazing. It helps me out a lot. And besides that, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker gave a speech last night in Chicago after Donald Trump was threatening to send the troops into Chicago. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
I want to speak plainly about the moment that we are in.
One sec. I want to turn off closed captions. Okay. So yesterday, Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker spoke in Chicago because Donald Trump is preparing to send the military there. He's been planning this secretly for weeks. He's been planning this without communicating with anybody in Chicago or Illinois for that matter. And he's doing so to cause a riot. He's doing so to take over the city, to threaten his political rivals, and to make the people of Chicago submit to his fascist authoritarianism. Well, the governor of Illinois, he's saying enough is enough. Let's listen to Pritzker.
I want to speak plainly about the moment that we are in and the actual crisis, not the manufactured one, that we are facing in this city and as a state and as a country. If it sounds to you like I am alarmist, that is because I am ringing an alarm.
I love that line, by the way. I've started using that. People are afraid to speak negatively about the country. They're afraid to be doomsday people. They're afraid to sound like alarmists. But enough is enough. There is a crisis happening right now. And if you aren't sounding the alarm, then you are naive or you're not paying attention.
One that I hope every person listening will heed, both here in Illinois and across the country. Over the weekend, we learned from the media that Donald Trump has been planning for quite a while now to deploy armed military personnel to the streets of Chicago. This is exactly the type of overreach that our country's founders warned against.
By the way, they're going to be armed. Yet, National Guard, they cannot attack American citizens. That is immediately a offense that gets you removed from the National Guard, probably arrested. And by the way, what's the point of having weapons then? Well, it's purely for intimidation. But I spoke to veterans that I know, and the reality is people get discharged all the time in the Army, in the National Guard, etc., for accidents, for negligence. You know, say you're a troublemaker and you're in the National Guard and you do something stupid during boot camp, or you do something stupid at your base, you're fired, you get discharged, right? So what happens when you give National Guard weapons that they don't normally carry around, and they certainly don't carry around the streets of Chicago to stare at American citizens, and one of them gets offended by a citizen who's protesting, shots are fired? We're looking at another Kent State, Ohio situation.
And it's the reason that they established a federal system with a separation of powers built on checks and balances. What President Trump is doing is unprecedented and unwarranted. It is illegal. It is unconstitutional. It is un-American.
That's the huge point.
No one from the White House or the executive branch has reached out to me or to the mayor. No one has reached out to our staffs. No effort has been made to coordinate or to ask for our assistance in identifying any actions that might be helpful to us.
That's the real piece of evidence you need to take away from this. If they were serious about solving crime, if the Trump regime actually cared about finding solutions for crime, they would be working closely and coordinating with the people in the city that they're about to take over. But the fact that they're doing this so sneaky, so much like a surprise, that's how you know that it's not really about solving crime, is it?
Local law enforcement has not been contacted. We have made no requests for federal intervention. None. We found out what Donald Trump was planning the same way that all of you did. We read a story in the Washington Post. If this was really about fighting crime and making the streets safe, what possible justification could the White House have for planning such an exceptional action without any conversations or consultations with the governor, the mayor, or the police?
Exactly. Like, if this was really about solving crime, then why were you doing this for weeks, if not months, in secret, without any conversation with leadership in that state? It's fucking obvious.
Let me answer that question. This is not about fighting crime. This is about Donald Trump searching for any justification to deploy the military in a blue city, in a blue state, to try and intimidate his political rivals. This is about the President of the United States and his complicit lackey, Stephen Miller, searching for ways to lay the groundwork to circumvent our democracy.
I like how he called out Stephen Miller. And by the way, it's not just about intimidating political rivals in a blue state. He's doing this conveniently ahead of the midterm elections to show that he is willing to put troops in cities at voting sites. When I spoke with Governor Gavin Newsom, he said the same thing. By the way, say what you will about Pritzker and Newsom. Do I think either of them should be the president? No, we're going to have a primary. We're going to figure out who's going to be, the nominee for the Democrats and who's actually going to stand up for the working class. And someone is going to have to prove that. But these two governors at least are finally calling it like it is. Donald Trump is going to have the military at voting sites. He's going to have ICE agents at voting sites to intimidate people.
Militarize our cities and end elections. There is no emergency in Chicago that calls for armed military intervention. There is no insurrection. There is no insurrection. Like every major American city in both blue and red states, we deal with crime in Chicago. Indeed, the violent crime rate is worse in red states and red cities. Here in Chicago, our civilian police force and elected leaders work every day to combat crime and to improve public safety. And it's working. Not one person here today will claim we have solved all crime in Chicago. Nor can that be said of any major American metro area. But calling the military into a U.S. city to invade our streets and neighborhoods and disrupt the lives of everyday people is an extraordinary action, and it should require extraordinary justification. Look around you right now. Does this look like an emergency? Look at this. Go talk to the people of Chicago who are enjoying a gorgeous afternoon in this city.
The people of Chicago are not going to appreciate this, by the way. I'm referring to Donald Trump's takeover of Chicago. This is not going to go well for anybody involved.
Ask the families buying ice cream on the Riverwalk. Go see the students who are at the beach after school. Talk to the workers that I just met taking the water taxi to get here. Find a family who's enjoying today sitting on their front porch and ask if they want their neighborhoods turned into a war zone by a wannabe dictator. Ask if they'd like to pass through a checkpoint with unidentified officers in masks while taking their kids to school.
True.
Crime is a reality we all face in this country. Public safety has been among our highest priorities since taking office. We have hired more police and given them more funding. We banned assault weapons, ghost guns, bump stocks, and high-capacity magazines. We invested historic amounts.
By the way, if Trump and this fascist regime, if they were serious about actually solving violence and crime in this country, they would be going after the gun industry, the NRA. People are killing each other because we have guns on the streets, and you are instructed to buy a gun to protect yourself from other people's guns. So no wonder there are parts of this country that are just a killing field. And by the way, the entire Republican Party is compromised by the NRA. The NRA has their pockets filled with Republicans. And so, of course, they want us to kill each other. They want us to kill ourselves. I actually appreciate that Pritzker has made it clear that they're banning weapons so that people don't buy guns that are used to kill other people. But oftentimes you see people buying guns in red states and then taking them to crowded, popular areas. Because in certain states, you can buy a gun easier than you can get your driver's license. You need a license to operate a car, right? Why don't you need something like that to use a gun?
Into community violence intervention programs. We listened to our local communities, to the people who live and work in the places that are most affected by crime, and asked them what they needed to help make their neighborhoods safer. Those strategies have been working. Crime is dropping in Chicago. Murders are down 32% compared to last year and nearly cut in half since 2021. Shootings are down 37% since last year and 57% from 4 years ago. Robberies are down 34% year over year. Burglaries down 21%. Motor vehicle thefts down 26%. So in case there was any doubt as to the motivation behind Trump's military occupations, take note. 13 of the top 20 cities in homicide rate have Republican governors.
Also, it's funny to hear MAGA Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House. He's always got California in his mouth. He's got blue states living rent-free in his head. His own area of Louisiana, The homicide rate is triple, quadruple, sometimes 6 times the amount of other blue areas in the country. People are killing each other where Mike Johnson's from. And he does nothing for his constituents. The only thing he does is unzip Donald Trump's pants and say, "Yes, sir, I'm ready."
None of these cities is Chicago. 8 of the top 10 states with the highest homicide rates are led by Republicans. None of those states is Illinois. Memphis, Tennessee, Hattiesburg, Mississippi have higher crime rates than Chicago, and yet Donald Trump is sending troops here and not there? Ask yourself why. If Donald Trump was actually serious about fighting crime in cities like Chicago, he, along with his congressional Republicans, would not be cutting over $800 million in public safety and crime prevention grants nationally, including cutting $158 million in funding to Illinois for...
Wait, are you telling me Donald Trump is defunding the police? They say that the Democrats are trying to defund the police, that they are trying to abolish the police, which I agree, we need serious reform. But are you telling me Donald Trump is defunding the police? No way.
Violence prevention programs that deploy trained outreach workers to de-escalate conflict on our streets. Cutting $71 million in law enforcement grants to Illinois, direct money for police departments through programs like Project Safe Neighborhoods, the state and local anti-terrorism training program, and the Rural Violent Crime Reduction Initiative.
You're telling me he's defunding police stations, terrorism initiatives? What? Donald Trump is the defund? I thought he was the Blue Lives Matter president. Everything that happened on January 6th, though, when those cops lost their lives because they were beaten by MAGA Trump sycophants, that wasn't part of... I mean, I thought Trump was the back the blue, sir, yes, sir, president. What are you talking about, Pritzker?
Cutting $137 million in child protection measures in Illinois that protect our kids against abuse and neglect. Trump is defunding the police. To the members of the press who are assembled here today and listening across the country, I am asking for your courage to tell it like it is. This is not a time to pretend here that there are two sides to this story. This is not a time to fall back into the reflexive crouch that I so often see, where the authoritarian creep by this administration is ignored in favor of some horse race piece on who will be helped politically by the president's actions. Donald Trump wants to use the military to occupy a U.S. city, punish his dissidents, and score political points. If this were happening in any other country, we would have no trouble calling it what it is, a dangerous power grab.
That's what I was saying earlier, by the way. Imagine this was all happening in, let's say, China. Imagine we're watching on the news as we're seeing Chinese cities get taken over by the Chinese military, and masked agents in China are rounding up anybody that speaks Japanese, let's say. Maybe they look slightly different. I'm saying as opposed to undocumented migrants here in the US. They're going after migrants in China, and they're throwing them into vans. And tourists are getting caught up in that. And Chinese citizens are getting caught up in that. We would see that and we would go, I'm not visiting China. That looks horrible. That looks like a fascist communist state, whatever you want to call it. But here in the US, because Trump supporters love being dominated by their daddy Trump, and they love submitting to Donald Trump, they love it. They're like, Donald Trump's cleaning up the cities. In reality, right now, Democrats are already shifting to the right. They're already saying that they're falling into a trap, that Donald Trump is making them look like they're, pro-crime. And so therefore they need to kiss Trump's ass, and they need to become law and order governors. I'm glad at least Pritzker and Newsom are saying, fuck that. We're not falling for this bullshit again. And we aren't going to let you just walk all over our cities, because hopefully by doing this, the people of Chicago will be like, yeah, we appreciate that. We don't want Donald Trump coming in here and ruining our weekend.
Look at the people assembled before you today, behind me. This is a full cross-section of Chicago's leaders from the business world, the faith community, law enforcement, education, community organizations, and more. We sometimes disagree on how to effectively solve the many challenges that our state and our city face on a daily basis. But today we are standing here united, in public, in front of the cameras, unafraid to tell the president that his proposed actions will make our jobs harder and the lives of our residents worse. Earlier today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump looked at the assembled cameras and asked for me personally to say, "Mr. President, can you do us the honor of protecting our city?" Instead, I say, "Mr. President, do not come to Chicago."
Man, that's good right there. That feels good. That feels good. Don't fucking lay one hand on any Chicagoan, because what's going to happen is Chicago could turn into a full-blown riot, because the people of Chicago stand up for their city, they stand up for themselves, and they know that this is the land of Lincoln. This is not Donald Trump's playground.
You are neither wanted here nor needed here. Your remarks about this effort over the last several weeks have betrayed a continuing slip in your mental faculties and are not fit for the auspicious office that you occupy. Most alarming, you seem to lack any appropriate concern as our commander-in-chief for the members of the military that you would so callously deploy as pawns in your ever more alarming grabs for power.
That's a really good point, and I think, saying that a little bit more succinctly is a great thing for Democrats. Donald Trump is disrespecting the military. He is literally throwing National Guard troops into a situation that they never trained for. This is not what they signed up for. And he's throwing them out there into an environment where they're going to get spit on. They're going to get treated like crap. Unfortunately, people are going to treat these troops badly. The troops, they didn't volunteer to be there. Most of them don't want to be there. They could get fired, though, if they say no, and their lives could be ruined, and their families' lives could be ruined. So they're just doing their job. It's unfortunate that that's the situation that's been enabled. That's the system that they're in. But they will take the blame for it, even though it's Donald Trump's fault. And Donald Trump has shown no regard for these people's lives. Just this morning, we saw National Guard picking up trash in DC. There's literally nothing for them to do. They're picking up trash. What are they, your fucking garbage men and women? What the fuck is this?
As a governor, I've had to make the decision in the past to call up members of the National Guard into active service. And I think it's worth taking a moment to reflect on how seriously I take that responsibility and on the many things that I consider before asking these brave men and women to leave their homes and their communities to serve in any capacity for us. As I've said many times in the past, members of the National Guard are not trained to serve as law enforcement. They are trained for the battlefield, and they're good at it. They're not trained to arrest people and read them their Miranda rights. They did not sign up for the National Guard to fight crime. And when we call them into service, we are reaching into local communities and taking people who have jobs and families away from their neighborhoods and the people who rely upon them. It is insulting to their integrity and to the extraordinary sacrifices that they make to serve in the Guard, to use them as a political prop where they could be put in situations where they will be at odds with their local communities, the ones that they seek to serve. I know Donald Trump doesn't care about the well-being of the members of our military, but I do. And so do all the people standing here. So let me speak to all Illinoisans and to all Chicagoans right now. Hopefully the president will reconsider this dangerous and misguided encroachment upon our state and our city's sovereignty. Hopefully rational voices.
It's funny that the party of states' rights, the party of small government, has become the biggest fucking government of all time. And saying they're for states' rights was only convenient for them when it comes to getting elected. But now, this is an authoritarian government. They are literally trying to take over cities and states. It's here.
If there are any left inside the White House or the Pentagon, will prevail in the coming days. If not, we are going to face an unprecedented and difficult time ahead. But I know you, Chicago, and I know you are up to it. When you protest, do it peacefully. Be sure to continue Chicago's long tradition of nonviolent resistance. Remember that the members of the military and the National Guard who will be asked to walk these streets are, for the most part, here unwillingly. And remember that they can be court-martialed and their lives ruined if they resist deployment. Look to the members of the faith community standing behind me today for guidance on how to mobilize. To my fellow governors across the nation who would consider pulling your National Guards from their duties at home to come into my state against the wishes of its elected representatives and its people, you would be failing your constituents and your country. Cooperation and coordination between our states is vital to the fabric of our nation, and it benefits us all.
Somebody had a really good idea I was hearing the other day where major blue state governors should form a pact where they pretty much all resist working with the federal government, and blue states just start making their own trade deals and their own negotiations, and they all withhold funding from the federal government. They all do business together. They all, share resources, etc. And there could be like a network of blue states. That would lead to a cold civil war, but it might be necessary. And I would at least like to hear Pritzker start talking about redistricting Illinois, because if California is doing it and New York's doing it, Illinois better be ready to do the same.
Any action undercutting that and violating the sacred sovereignty of our state to cater to the ego of a dictator will be responded to. The state of Illinois is ready to stand against this military deployment with every peaceful tool we have. We will see the Trump administration in court. We will use every lever at our disposal to protect the people of Illinois and their rights. Finally, to the Trump administration officials who are complicit in this scheme, to the public servants who have forsaken their oath to the Constitution, to serve the petty whims of an arrogant little man, to any federal official,
well, the loop, it's probably like the red line,
who would come to Chicago and try to incite my people into violence as a pretext for something darker and more dangerous, we are watching and we are taking names. This country has survived darker periods than the one that we're going through right now, and eventually the pendulum will swing back.
I agree.
Maybe even next year. Donald Trump has already shown himself to have little regard for the many acolytes that he has encouraged to commit crimes on his behalf. You can delay justice for a time, but history shows you cannot prevent it from finding you eventually.
I agree. I think justice is going to be served in a big way. I really hope that Donald Trump and everybody else, they end up in some of these concentration camps that Trump has built. That would be the greatest victory of all.
If you hurt my people, nothing will stop me, not time or political circumstance, from making sure that you face justice under our constitutional rule of law. As Dr. King once said, the arc of the moral universe is long, but it bends toward justice. Humbly, I would add, it doesn't bend on its own. History tells us we often have to apply force needed to make sure that the arc gets where it needs to go.
Wow, well said. Folks, that's going to be it for today. Thank you for being here. My name is Josh Greene. This has been another edition of the Progressive Pulse. If you like this video, make sure you click the thumbs up, click the like, because even after the fact, it's going to help make sure people can watch this. If you enjoy more of these videos, click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything, but it helps you stay up to date on my videos so they always show up on your YouTube for you to click on easily. And that way it helps grow my channel as well. And if you want to support me directly, I'm an independent content creator, a political commentator. You can go to the description, go to Buy Me a Coffee or Venmo. Both are linked there. You can just click on them. Super easy. And you can contribute any amount that you'd like, $1, $5. Somebody sent me $500. Thank you so much to whoever did that. But seriously, just $1, $5. It helps pay for the equipment, helps keep the show running smoothly so I'm able to go live throughout the week. But beyond that, please share these videos. Follow me on other socials, TikTok, Instagram, etc., all linked in my description. I'm mostly on TikTok and Instagram. Thank you for being here today. I'll have recaps of today's show up later as well. So there will be more bite-sized versions that you can send around to people in case somebody is not able to watch, the full 3 hours of what we did today, but maybe they want to catch, a 10-minute recap. Thank you, thank you, thank you. God bless.